Second place UMass Boston hosts third place Norwich University on one of the coldest days of the entire 22 calendar year thus far. My name is Seth Rensky, joined by Matt Meisemacher. Matt, it's really cold outside, but it should be electric in here. Two of the top teams in the NEHC year in and year out, and a chance for UMass Boston to really create some room between them and the middle of the NEHC standings if they can come away with a 6-point weekend right here and right now.
Pretty exciting for a lot of reasons. One, Norwich UMass, right? We always love that matchup, and I get to do a game with you. It's been a while. We've had a lot of different play-by-play guys up here, and it's good to. I'm excited not only for the matchup, but just to be back on air with you, Seth.
Well, Matt, it feels good to be next to you as well. We've been doing these games for a while, and we've been doing these games long enough that we know that while Norwich University has been the class of the ECAC East and now NEHC for a while, they have struggled here at the Edward T. Barry Ice Rink for a variety of reasons. But while they dominate the all-time series, it's been UMass Boston who's been able to take it to them a bit here at home. 5-5 over the last 10 games. Norwich has outscored the Beacons by a single goal, and that's when typically they're the higher-ranked team between the two sides. What makes the Barry a difficult place to play for Norwich, especially coming from their own palatial palace of Kreitzberg Arena up in Vermont?
It's just simply far. It's a ways, right, to get up or down from where Norwich is in Vermont, basically on a mountain, and then come all the way down to Boston. It's a hike, and it's never easy on the road. I don't care where you play. It's a different rink. You're not quite familiar with the boards. You're just not quite familiar with the setup. You're used to what you see at home. You take a look at the all-time series. It's a little bit deceptive. It was pretty close leading up until, what, 90s, early 91, early 2000s, right, where it was pretty much an even matchup, and then Norwich just kind of
24 in a row.
I was going to say 26, so a bunch of games in a row, and that's why you see the discrepancy there in the record. But really, ultimately, it's been, especially in the Barry, pretty even tilt. 5-5, I believe, over the last 10 matchups, so could go either way. They have a little bit, definitely a home ice advantage. Anyone who's been up to Norwich knows they have a full bowl, usually a lot of fans in the rink, so they definitely have a home ice advantage, but different when you come to the Barry.
Especially today and in January of 2022, where there are no fans allowed right now at any UMass Boston home events. The last time these two teams played up in Norwich, very early in the season, it was a 3-3 tie in which Norwich scored the opening goal 65 seconds in, and then it needed 2 goals in the final minute and 23 to earn a 3-3 tie going into overtime. Neither side able to score in the 3-on-3 overtime. Beacons getting a goal and an assist from Dakota Concannon, who makes his return to the lineup today. On the opposite side, Noah Williams and Clark Kerner had a goal and an assist each. That snapped a streak in which the Beacons had really scuffled against Norwich, having lost 9 of 10. We're going to take a look at highlights of that one win. It was UMass Boston getting off to the hot start. 3 goals in the first 8:39 en route to a 4-1 win over Norwich back in 2018 here at the Barry. Those are the highlights from the last time these two teams met. Let's take a look right now at the NEHC standings. We mentioned the Beacons having the lead. Now, UMass Boston has played one more game than Elmira College below them. The same amount of games as Skidmore College. Norwich has actually played one more game than the Beacons, so it could be a 6-point gap with the game in hand for the Beacons. Hobart has some games in hand. Babson in 6th has, I think, 3 games in hand at this point because they've been out for a while, postponed already earlier this season. They play 2 games this weekend. They're at Elmira today, at Hobart tomorrow. So a lot can change between now and next week when the Beacons go to the Babson Skating Center next Friday. But a lot to play for. And for UMass Boston, the interesting thing is they played all their tough competition in conference on the road with the exception of Babson the first semester. 1-5-1 against nationally ranked teams. Only one home game. It was a win over Babson. These next 4 games, they host Norwich today. They're at Babson next Friday. They've got Elmira the following Friday, Hobart the following Saturday. UMass Boston has everything to play for, and if they can continue to play well on their home ice, 7-1 at this point, Matt, UMass Boston could not be looking at a top 4 seed. They could be looking at a top 2 or even 1 seed if they can protect home ice here at the Barry.
No, it's a great point. I think Hobart has separated themselves. You look at the record, 7-0-1. I think they're the top of the class this year, goes without saying. But let's take a look at the records and the points 1 through 6, right? 14, a difference of 6 points between 1 and 6 with games at hand, as you mentioned. This can jumble. Last night, Norwich was the 6th seed in the conference. Today, they're 4. Any weekend, whether it be Friday or Saturday, these teams are going to jumble, and I think it just is so imperative to get points, right? It is not necessarily bad, and I'm not saying you play for a tie or you try to force OT, but you really got to be smart given the way the conference has played tonight, or this season rather, and tonight is a great case where 3 points on the table. If you can walk away with 3, fantastic, but if you can find a way to get 2, it's more valuable this year than it has been in years past.
Absolutely. Right now, let's move along and take a look at our team statistics. Matt, these are 2 of the top scoring teams in the conference, and the numbers that pop out to me is the power play of Norwich at 43% in conference play versus the Beacons' #1 penalty kill right now in the conference. 27 of their 27, perfect over the last 7 games. Norwich isn't going to take penalties. The Beacons have been known to take a few too many. You hope not to be on the PK much, but the Beacons' PK is going to have to show up in a big way today against the red-hot Norwich power play.
It's going to be tested. I expect to see some special teams today on both sides, power play and penalty kill. The thing that sticks out to me, Seth, is there's a major gap with Norwich. 4 goals a game at home and only 2, a little over 2 on the road. That's something, especially the way Sam Best has played. I know the shutout streak is over, but he still looked solid last night. He's feeling very confident right now. This is a Norwich team where if you can get a lead early and make them panic a little bit, you might be able to run pretty hard on them in the second and third period and have them try to play catch-up game.
Matt, I just want to correct that. Norwich at 4 goals per game at home. They're up to 4 goals per game on the road now because of their 7 goals yesterday against Johnson Wales. The issue has been defense on the road. 2.09 goals against, 2.91, and again, that's after a good one. They don't have a marquee road win this year. They've beaten Castleton and Johnson Wales, 2 of the bottom teams in the NEHC. Let's take a look at the individual leaders. This game is full of some of the top players in the NEHC. For the Beacons, it's their big 3 seniors, Ethan Nicken, Jeffrey Skinner, and Chris Peters. Peters all alone atop the conference with 23 goals. Nicken tied for first with 12 goals. On the opposite side, it's not the normal names from Norwich, who brought back just 16 players from their 2019-20 team that was ranked #1 in the country when the NCAA tournament was canceled. But some of these newcomers have been phenomenal. You look at Clark Kerner, the top line center. He's got 21 points. Brett Oderkirk was their top returner. Devin Becker, a great transfer out of Bryn Athyn College. And I got to watch Brady Gaudette, the UMass transfer who had 4 points in yesterday's big win over Johnson & Wales. We're going to take a brief break for the national anthem. We'll bring you the Beacon starters before we do that, then give you the Norwich starters and the opening puck drop.
Jeffrey Skinner, senior forward, Houston, Texas.
Andy Walker, junior forward, Detroit, Michigan.
Ethan Nicken, senior forward from Miami Beach, Florida.
Sam Best, junior goaltender, Woburn, Massachusetts.
The University of Massachusetts, Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
We got the Beacons starting fours. The defensive pair will be Ryan Bogan and Michael Krupinski. For Norwich, really quickly, let's bring you their starters. Norwich is going to go with the top line, O'Mara, Kerner, and Gaudet. Tons of talent up top. Mantaro, the Air Force Academy transfer, alongside Bryn Athyn College transfer, Devin Becker. Drennan Atherton in net once again. He made 33 saves against the Beacons the first time these two teams played. Let's take a look really quickly at the goalie matchup, Matt, as the former goalie. Two guys who are both having very successful seasons. Best might be the hotter of the two, even after giving up 2 goals last night.
Oh, without a doubt. He's got to be the hottest goalie in Division III, let alone the conference. Coming off a 5-game, depending on how you look at it, 4-game shutout streak. And he's going to be tested today. He's had, you can look on paper, some pretty favorable matchups. This is a Norwich team that's going to find ways to generate some grade A opportunities. If you look at where the scoring opportunities have come, against the Beacons, it really hasn't been a ton of grade A opportunities. Now, the ones that they have, he's stopped, but I think he's going to be tested today, and I'm glad he's coming in confident, because this is a Norwich team, as you mentioned, 5 Division I transfers, some kids that can really play some hockey. Best
is still yet to beat Norwich in 3 all-time starts. He lost both starts as a freshman. Had 9 saves on 14 shots his first collegiate start against Norwich in a 5-3 Beacons loss. Then took a 5-0 loss here at the Barry, where he made well over 30 saves, but the Beacons just didn't have it back in 2019-20. Earlier this year, 26 saves on 29 shots, gave up 2 goals in the final 123 when Norwich had the goalie pulled. Best over his last 4 starts, 108 saves, just 2 goals against, a save percentage over 98%, as Norwich in the road maroon and golds gets an early look, but it's Brian O'Mara who stopped in tight. O'Mara with 5 goals and 5 assists out of Syracuse, New York this year. He's the team's best power play look, as he's got 5 power play goals. For UMass Boston, going from left to right, they're in their home whites with the blue numbers and blue pants, as it's Nicken who gets it across center ice and dumps it in. Out there on the top line with Skinner and Walker. The Beacons begin to bring out the top line right now of Clifton, Matthews, and Peters. Giving chase is Ryan Rowland. And right now we're going to take a look at the Beacons head coach. That's Peter Belisle. Belisle, as you can see, well, we're moving over to the Norwich.
That's not Belisle.
That's Cam Ellsworth, who's been successful in his own right. Former UMass Lowell assistant coach, who's just to the left of his assistants there, has won over 81.8% of his games and was the 2019-20 National Coach of the Year. Peter Belisle has an Edward Jeremiah Award as well. That was back in 2015-16. Peters digs it out behind the net, pushing it forward there, looking for Corey Clifton, who's one of a number of Beacons who are just red hot out of the break. He had 2 goals last night, including his first collegiate game winner for the Beacons D1 transfer out of Quinnipiac University, one of their 2. Sam Best started his collegiate career at American International College. Up top, it's Rowland, near side for Petrozello. Finds Clifton, who's denied by the pad. Good kick save there from Atherton.
That's a great look. Good look by Petrozello to find Clifton in the slot. Tried to go off the pad there. Atherton said no.
Near side, it's Brandon Aubin, the junior out of Woodstock, Ontario, who will dump and head off. Physical contact behind the net. Keegan loses that battle. Centering feed is deflected out. From the point, the shot gets knocked away there off of the stick of Joe Nagel. He's a transfer out of UNH. Again, 5 D1 transfers and 6 total. And ironically, it's been the guy out of Division III, Devin Becker, the top line right defenseman, who's had the most points. Very successful after 2 years at Bryn Athyn College, a D3 program who has some ties to UMass Boston. Andrew Burke was the head coach there before they decided to move down to a club team.
Berkey. Some of the best flow, Seth, of all time. He's got to be top 3 in Beacons history.
I'm trying to match him, but I think I got a ways to go, as this one's poked into the Beacons, and Ryan Bogan, who's got some good flow of his own, will track it down and leave it off for Michael Krupinski. Krupinski, cross-ice pass. That one does not catch the stick of Alex Duncan. And we'll get an icing. And now we're going to take a look at Peter Belisle. You see the jacket behind Peter Belisle. That's the Mount St. Charles varsity jacket. Belisle's father, the longtime head coach at Mount St. Charles, Bill Belisle, passed earlier this week, very close to Pete and all of his brothers. Belisle, a member of the USA Hall of Fame. There's a slap shot off the faceoff, and Brett Oderkirk gives Norwich a 1-0 lead, just 2 minutes and 52 seconds in. And already we've seen Norwich with a couple of good looks from distance, and it's the Cadets who take the early 1-0 advantage. Seth,
what a tremendous play there. That's some tic-tac-toe passing there. We'll bring the replay to next whistle. That, I'll tell you what, tough on a goaltender to have to move. It's very, very difficult to move as fast as the puck moves like that. That's a high to low and then a cross pass into the slot for a one-timer. That's a lot of area to cover if you're Sam Best. Wasn't able to get there to the far side. Norwich with a 1-0 lead.
Oderkirk, his 9th goal on the season, second best on the team behind only Clark Kerner. He was the team's leading returning point scorer, as he was the lone guy back amongst the top 7 from that 2019-20 team. Matt, UMass Boston's found themselves behind before this season, including the first time these two teams played. The question is, how do you respond after the Cadets have come out aggressively? Beacons have had at least 1 or 2 decent chances of their own, but not what you want to see down 1-0 against a nationally ranked program, and here's the goal.
Yeah, take a look at this passing play, Seth, and it's right off the faceoff draw. It's going to be 3 in a row. Watch the low, and then right into the slot. And that's just a really nice play. The slow-mo doesn't do it justice how fast that puck was moving here, but take a look. That's a set faceoff play from Norwich, and a great shot from Oderkirk to beat Sam Best on the far side.
And I couldn't get the number, but it was a nice screen in front of Best. I'm not sure if it took away his eyes completely, but certainly makes it more difficult on a goalie. Sam Best isn't all that large to begin with, listed at 5'11", probably an extra inch or 2 on the listing than he actually is.
He gave the skate height, not his real height.
Hey, you know what? It does not matter how big you are as a goalie. It matters how much ground you can cover. We've seen some really good big goalies. Ben Bishop's probably the biggest one I can remember, but there's some smaller goalies who cover a ton of ground. Beacons bring out that second line that's been red hot as of late. Andy Walker centering feed finds the Cadet, and bringing it out of the zone, or just barely there, was Patrick O'Neill, stripped. It's Skinner. Skinner's shot tipped up into the netting, and we'll get a stoppage. 16:07 to go after Callum Jones is able to deflect that look. Good start for Norwich. The Beacons have to kind of bring their game up a step after that 3-game winning streak. Beacons defeating Post, Skidmore, and Castleton. We talked about it last night. Competition's going to step up. You have to rise to the occasion. They played well in the second period and parts of the third yesterday against NEC. Not a complete game, and now an even tougher opponent today in Norwich. Able to gain the zone is Daggett, the second-line defenseman who stripped of the puck. Petruzella flipping it forward out of the reach of Peters, who will give chase. Monte Leone's the first one there, crossing it over for Joe Nagel. Nagel chips it ahead for Aubin. Aubin pushing it forward for Daggett, and giving chase will be Petruzella, who was out last weekend, but back in there and moves up to the Beacons' second defensive pairing as Chris Peters takes a hard push into the boards, and the Beacons will be the first team going to the power play, as that's going to be 2 minutes on Ian Tukane, the freshman out of Fort Francis, Ontario, making his collegiate debut. Might have been his first shift, and that's about as blatant of a board as you can get. The question right now, it's not, is it a penalty? Is it 5 versus 2?
They're talking about it. Let's see. It's a hit from behind, definitely a board, a little bit of a hit from behind as well.
So our referee crew for today, Michael D. Pasquale and Mike Cutler. The linesmen are Rick Ernick and Chris Lucier. So the Beacons, whose power play isn't too shabby of their own, well over 20%. They went 1 for 6 yesterday with a chance here. Turnaround shot, Nickens denied. Fighting for it is Clifton out there with Ty Matthews, Chris Peters, and Michael Krupinski, 4 forwards and a defenseman. Krupinski struggled with that, still battling. A great job by the Dallas native to prevent a possible breakaway.
And a great couple saves there from Atherton, right in front. I think he made 2, Seth. Was able to clear the rebound, get it clear there, but right on his doorstep.
Yeah, including stopping Ethan Nicken, who's our player to watch. We didn't get to the graphics. 6 goals in his last 4. He has been the Beacons' hottest goal scorer, as That's almost gets out of the zone, unable to break it, and now a chance to potentially do a little bit more damage. So that pass looking for Clark Kerner, who will take a hit there from Peters. No penalty coming despite Norwich protestations.
That could have been a call.
Easily. Krupinski, the drop pass for Matthews, who's been red hot as well, and his shot gets tipped up into the netting, and it's Devin Becker with a good job. Tim Ellsworth is furious on the bench right now. Couldn't believe that wasn't called on Chris Peters.
Yeah, he's hot. He wanted a call there bad.
And Mike Cutler's just not having anything.
Well, and as a referee, I mean, especially these guys, veterans, they know what they're doing out here. It's not like this is their first rodeo.
Face-off is won by the Cadets in their own zone. A chance to clear O'Neal, though. Couldn't quite get it away. The Beacons bringing out the second unit. Duncan, Skinner, Moran, Keegan, and Bogan. Tempting clearance, will have enough legs there, and coming all the way down to get it is Bogan with 45 to go on the man advantage.
One thing I'm worried about here, Seth, is Norwich plays faster than a lot of the opponents the Beacons have faced in recent memory, and I want to see if they can make that adjustment here. It seems like Norwich is playing just a little bit faster than the Beacons right now, and that's why we've seen this power play, a couple opportunities, but nothing really too nothing to write home about, as they say.
Yeah, after the opening faceoff, the Beacons haven't been able to get a real look. Moran there was stripped going into the zone. Here's Jones all the way in on net. Backhand chance, draws the penalty. And again, the Beacons are a step slow. That's a great job by Brennan Jones, fourth line left winger. Still looking for his first collegiate point. Doesn't get a point, but we'll go 4-on-4 for 13 seconds, and then the Beacons will go down a man as Ryan Bogan. It's going to be either a hook or a trip.
Yeah, it's just a little bit fast for the Beacons right now, it seems, right? And 7 minutes into this hockey game, plenty of time to adjust. It just seems as though Norwich is playing at a little bit faster speed, right? Fifth gear versus fourth gear. Plenty of time for these Beacons to adjust, but you don't want to make it too far of a deficit by the time you do.
Ryan O'Mara, the man with the puck, he's the guy to watch when it does become a power play. 5 power play goals, tied for first in the conference. All 5 of his goals this year have gone on the man advantage. Pushes it across for Clark Kerner. Quick shot, pops up off the rebound. It's Becker, the team's leading playmaker this year with 17 assists. Nagel pushing it down low, looking for Kerner. Battling there is Gaudet, who had the hat trick last night, including each of the first 3 goals for the Cadets in his debut. Nagel shot wide, and fighting for it here is Dakota Concannon, who had a goal and an assist the first time these teams met. Good job by Jake Adkins to chip it down the length of the ice, and the Beacons will get 4 new skaters. Duncan and Nick in the forwards, Petrozella and Krupinski, the defensemen, as Best will leave this for Duncan, trying to get the clearance, and a successful one from Alex Duncan, the freshman left winger.
That's a really smart play by Best. The easy decision would have been to hold that and take an in-zone draw. Instead, trusts his defenseman, plays it, and gets it out. That's going to be worth maybe 15, 20 seconds of penalty kill time.
Controlling it here is Kerner, the very talented freshman, up top for Becker. 47 seconds left on the abbreviated power play, 1:47 total. Kerner finds Gaudet in the low slot, but his shot goes just wide. All the way around for Odekirk, who scored the first goal, gets it right back. Brett Odekirk near side, aiming for Nagel, tipped away by Keegan, and it'll come out of the zone, and the Beacons will get at least 1 change.
Yeah, really nice stick there from Duncan. Recognize the cross-ice pass, get a little bit of lumber on it, get it out of the zone, and a change. That's a smart penalty killer.
Del Vecchio has it poked away. Dakota Concannon hasn't been in the last 3 games, but bringing the energy here on the PK. 13 seconds to go on the man advantage. The Beacons look to match Norwich with one of their own. Successful kill, near side, pass reaches Chapman. Chapman with 2. We're back to 5-on-5, but the Cadets still control in the offensive zone. Down low, it's Odekirk. Odekirk being pinned to the boards. 3 Beacons come over, but pulling it away is Del Vecchio. Near side, lists the shot. Kick save from Best as he extends with the right leg. Chipped all the way around, looking for Mantaro, who will back up, and now the Beacons go the other way with speed. Jacob Banks with 4 points in his last 2 games, unable to gain the zone. Chipping it forward was Davis Browning back into the lineup as the Beacons lost 2 defensemen from yesterday. Nick DeLuzio and Nolan Barrett both out for today's contest, and the Beacon gets rubbed into the board, and now it's UMass Boston asking some questions. Attempted cross-ice pass broken up by Banks, but he'll give it right back to the Cadets, and it's Chapman with just under 11 minutes to go. It's 1-0 Norwich. Peters will gain the zone, has options. Peters still with it, shot, and Matthews whiffs on the rebound from in tight. Peters able to get it right back from the top of the slot. Peters' shot comes right back off the skate of a Cadet, and the shot high from Krupinski. Better from UMass Boston since the PK ended. Chapman will chip it out of the zone, and Matt, it almost feels like the PK gave the Beacons the advantage because they've been forced to skate a little harder and faster.
Well, they're recognizing the speed at which we're going to be playing today, and they've leveled up. You can see it now. A couple opportunities there in the offensive zone. They need more of that, Seth. Not a ton of offense so far in this hockey game for the Beacons.
Nicken barely gains the zone and pushed off the puck. Working with it is Nagel all the way across, aiming for Gaudette, who, again, what a debut. Did not factor in all that much at the University of Maine. Just 2 career points in 19 games, but has 4 in a game and half a period as the Beacons are called for an icing, and we'll get an offensive zone draw for Norwich. They're going to go with that top line, O'Mara, Kerner, and Gaudette for UMass Boston.
Kerner kid, only a freshman, playing first-line center. Tells you how talented he possibly taking a look. Well, not possibly, because you look at his stats in his season so far, right? 14 games played, 21 points. That's not too shabby.
4 assists last night. Leads the team with 10 goals, but last night he was the playmaker on that line. O'Mara had a goal and 2 assists, 3 goals and an assist from Gaudette. This is always one of the deeper programs in the conference in terms of pure talent. And despite losing some great names, you talk about Gabriel Chicoine, who's now at Bowling Green, Felix Broussard, Kobe Downs, who I remember watching him with you and I. It felt like he had the hardest shot in the conference. Well, they lose all those big guns.
Tom Auburn,
the National Player of the Year in 2019, the goalie. They're always going to have top-tier talent as the backhand lift from Kerner goes just wide. Beacons chip it out to center ice, picked up by List, one of those transfers along the blue line. 4 of Norwich's 6 players on the blue line are transfers. Chipped all the way in. Best will hold on this time, and we'll get a whistle with 9:07 to go in the first period. The difference, that early Brett Oderkirk goal.
Yeah, and big whoop, right? As my sister likes to say, they scored. We knew Norwich was going to score today, and it shouldn't be a panic at this point. You knew that, hey, they're going to score at some point today. It just so happens they got the first one. I think the Beacons recognize that and have countered. You like my big whoop, Seth?
I'm just surprised that your sister is saying such vile things. Out top, it's Mentaro, chipped around. That's Jones, whose shot is stopped. Already, Norwich has had 2 or 3 good looks off of offensive zone draws. Something to watch for. The Beacons struggled yesterday on the draw against NEC, at least through the first 2 periods. Concannon loses the puck along the boards, and we go the other way with speed. It's Patrick O'Neill, the Indiana, Pennsylvania native, is stripped of the puck as he heads in on net. Roland trying to possess the puck away, and it finally bounces out to the far boards where Moran is held onto by Jones. 3 Beacons, 2 Cadets, and coming away with it is Browning. Near side, Duncan squirts that one out high off the boards, bounces through Mantaro, giving traces Devin Moran. Nearly had it. Instead, it's Oderkirk, because there were 4 Cadets back to the Beacons 1. Rifling this one around is Becker. Best will slow it down. Roland chips it all the way through his own teammate. Still fighting for it is Swanson, the graduate student captain. And Best will hold down, and now some pushing and shoving. 8:05 to go in the first period. No, it's the first time you've ever told me that line about your sister. And I mean, she sounds like a lovely woman.
You ever say that? Big whoop?
I don't have a sister or brother, so.
No, you personally.
Oh, I say.
Big whoop.
I use different words.
Oh, different.
Words that you and I should not be saying on air.
But really, though, it's what it is. And I think in the past, right, there was this feeling as though Norwich, oh my God, the big team coming into town, we can't be down, we can't be facing a deficit. That's really not the case anymore, especially given this year. Norwich is right there with the Beacons. No big deal being down 1-0 early.
No, Norwich is 4-3-3 marked in conference. Doesn't sound all that good for Norwich, considering in the 2018-19 and 2019-20 years, they had just 7 combined ties and losses in conference play. This year they already have 6 with a lot of games to go. So not quite the Norwich team we're used to seeing through the first couple months of the season. Still a lot of time to be playing your best hockey. Battling there is the Beacons' 4th line, Bankowskis, in a battle behind the net with Patrick Del Vecchio from the Cadets' 4th line. Tipped around, Banks with it for UMass Boston, trying to get it out. Will swirl, looking for Adkins there, who will break it up, and he'll dump it in the zone as far as Nagel. Nagel near side, aiming for Daggett, and pushed right back in the zone. 7:08 to go. Both teams have had a power play and been unsuccessful. Brennan Atherton's been slightly more successful than Sam Best, although I don't think there was much Best could have done on the snipe from Oderkirk, because we get a rare offensive zone draw for the Beacons. And this is where, if you're people out, you want to see UMass Boston come up with some of those set plays that Norwich has been so successful on.
You do, and I think at this stage, though, plenty of hockey left. Let's just see what they're doing off faceoffs, right? You want to definitely run some plays, but also take note of what Norwich is running off the draw. That's a clean win, so you're not going to get too much off that. But any type of 50-50 faceoff draws, you just want to see what their tendencies are.
Norwich comes away with it in the neutral zone. That's Aubin, the second-line center, who won the faceoff, I believe, against Skinner. Skinner gains the zone and will dump. Nicken giving chase, working there against Cale List. List gets there first. Walker centering feed, broken up nicely by the defenseman Callum Jones. One of two Jones on this Norwich roster. The left winger is Brendan Jones on the fourth line. Callum Jones, no relation, is the third line right D. Petruzzello chips it over the loose stick.
Related to Mac Jones?
I don't believe so, but Mac Jones is definitely not from Mass, as there's a good save from Atherton, denying Jeffrey Skinner in tight.
That's a good save. That's a good save. Just messing with you a little, Seth. See if you're on your game today.
Trying. Mac Jones, well, he's going to have the more difficult matchup, I would suggest, over either of these two sides.
I would think so. What is it supposed to be in Buffalo today?
8
degrees?
I think the feels like is in the minuses. I mean, the feels like here is about 0.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But hey, maybe you're Bart Scott. You follow Bart Scott and you take some pills.
You guys can look that up on Twitter for those that don't know what he just referenced.
Ty Matthews wins the draw there against Clark Kerner, but the Beacons can't keep control. Bounces past Rowland. Davis Browning able to win the battle. Browning in there for Nick DeLuzio, a like-for-like match. The Beacons going with the extra forward today as Browning's shot is saved, and Atherton will hold on. Rare time this season when the Beacons have gone with 13 forwards versus the 7D, but they lost DeLuzio yesterday. They lost Helt unavailable this weekend, their graduate student captain, and Nolan Barrett doesn't make the 22 today.
And Bordeaux.
Well, Boudreau is the forward, but yeah, that's a big loss for UMass Boston as the shot gets knocked down. Chance for Peters, who goes just wide. Not sure if it took a tip on the way in, but Chris Peters, the Beacons' leading point scorer, only 5 goals on the year. A good look from the low slot.
Yeah, that's when he wants back. In the slot there, missed the net. I don't know if the puck maybe rolled on him there, but definitely from that angle, you got to get that one on net.
UMass Boston probably had 3 of those looks. An early look for Clifton, Nicken on the power play, and now Peters. 3 guys you like with some shots from in tight.
Most definitely. Those are the guys. If you could draw it up and say, hey, give me 3 chances with these guys, they're probably not going to sub anybody in and take those 3.
Near side Mantaro with just over 5 to go in the period. Norwich continues to lead 1-0 on the early goal less than 3 minutes in from Oderkirk. Near side Matthews, who's maybe a guy you'd want to sub in with the way his shot has worked recently. 5 goals and 7 assists over his last 6. Scoreless last night in terms of scoring, but did have 2 assists in the victory over New England College. Near side, it's Chapman trying to find a teammate. Broken up nicely there by Concanon, but the Cadets get it right back. O'Neal chipping it in. A couple of players tried to play with the high stick. No call as both players whiffed. Duncan can't handle it. It's back to center ice. Moran chipping it back for Keegan. Keegan all the way to the near side. Duncan with the player waiting on him. He's forced to dump it in. The Beacons will start to get a line change. Pat Keegan giving chase, and the Cadets will have safe passage out of the zone. Oderkirk, the goal scorer, will dump, and the Beacons have 5 back in Norwich in the midst of a change. Lots of play in the neutral zone and just inside the 2 offensive zones. That one will skip all the way through. No icing this time as the linesman Rick Ernick will wave it off. This one comes all the way down the left of the ice. Beacons asking for it, but it's Brendan Jones who won the battle, skipping through a couple of Beacons. List cross ice for Callum Jones, and the shot gets deflected up. Good diving effort from Jacob Banks to get in front of that shot.
the pace right now, and really for the whole period, right? It's a very fast pace, and I'm actually surprised. I expected this early on. I thought they're going to be coming out, both teams, with a lot of energy, and it's been pretty much a full period of this is full tilt. I mean, folks, you can't play much faster than these teams are playing right now. I wonder how long it's going to be sustainable.
Auburn wins the draw against Skinner. Shot from distance. Skitters wide off the stick of Callum Jones. A couple players along the near boards. Browning comes away with it, the Dallas, Texas native. We'll hear from him during the second intermission about him growing up in the West and the South. Not your traditional hockey province. Ethan Nicken trying to go 1v4. That didn't work out for the Miami Beach native. Near side, it's Daggett. Gains the neutral zone, pushing it forward for Auburn. Auburn, the drop pass. And it's Logan Vandermeeracker who has his pass broken up. Skinner trying to center. Actually, that was Walker trying to center for Skinner. Ends up in the crease, and Atherton says, yeah, I guess I'll cover this up.
Jeez. Andy Walker, man, kind of fumbled it. It was thinking about doing too many things, right? He's in on a rush. He's looking maybe drop it back to the defense, maybe try to find a cross-ice pass. And I think he got caught up in indecision as he just kind of ended up doing nothing with it. And that's one of those, you can see his reaction there. He's like, oh, man, I wish I just would have picked one and done something, you know?
Matthews wins the draw, but not cleanly. Clifton trying to send it down low. Peters couldn't handle. It's Becker with it. Such a talented transfer out of Bryn Athyn College, a D3 in Pennsylvania that, well, the program closed, and what do you know, Norwich picks up one of the best offensive defensemen in the country over the past couple seasons. Out top, it's Krupinski, a pretty good offensive defenseman of the Beacons, and he's going to be called for interference. Has his shot blocked. Kerner was going to beat him to the puck, and that's unfortunate for a guy who was just singing his praises. Second penalty on the Beacons, and with 2:34 to go, a chance for Norwich to potentially add to their lead.
It's one of the things I like so much about players like Tyler Bishop and Nick Albano. They just rarely got their shots blocked. They always got them through, and it wasn't always on net, but you could see there, that's an instance where Krupinski gets his shot blocked, and instead he's got a choice. I either take a penalty or it's a breakaway down to my goaltender, and it all stems from getting that shot blocked. Shorthanded here, Seth.
Yeah, Duncan, not the fleetest of foot, and loses the battle. Coming back nicely was Logan Vandermeeracker, the sophomore out of Dieppe, New Brunswick, although sounds like he might have some Dutch influence, as that one looked like it ended up on the Beacons bench, but the linesman followed it the whole way.
I think it hit off the ref. The only way he wouldn't blow that down, I don't know.
So Norwich forced to reset in their own zone. 25 seconds to go on the man advantage. Just over 2 minutes to go in the period. Keegan a chance to send it down the length of the ice, and will do so. We hit the 2-minute mark to go. The lone goal coming from Brett Odekirk. Second chance for this red-hot Norwich power play. Beacons have successfully killed 28 of 28, looking to extend that streak right here. Keegan, another chance to clear.
Whoa.
Breaks his stick, loses the puck, and Joe Petrozelli says, I got you, buddy, and we'll clear it down the length of the ice.
Fortunate. If that stays in the zone, it's basically a 5-on-3.
Yeah, and fortunate for the Beacons, because just like in baseball, you see a broken stick or broken bat, everyone stops.
That's
Joe
right.
Petrozelli said, I'll come over.
We're still
playing. Because there was a Norwich player there who didn't recognize the puck. Passed just out of the reach of Nagel, and down to 47 on the man advantage. Norwich has yet to get a look thus far. Working with it here is Becker, the team's top playmaker for O'Mara, their top power play guy. We've got a whistle.
Icing, Seth?
I think we're...
Or an offside. It's a linesman, so it's not a penalty. I think we got, is this an intentional offsides? Let's see what the faceoff is. That should dictate.
Sean Pauly is screaming. The Beacons had a chance to clear. This should go down the length of the ice because the Beacons did have the puck when the whistle blew.
Yeah, so I think it's offsides, and the Beacons are asking for an intentional offsides.
And, I mean, realistically, with that position, with the Beacons in possession, UMass Boston's bench has a case there.
Yeah, they did. No, they absolutely did.
Either way, they're able to push it down the length of the ice, and with 28 seconds, Norwich will start their breakout. It's O'Mara, and another whistle, and it's got to be another offside.
Yep.
And this is interesting. It seems like Norwich is kind of kicking themselves right now on this.
Well, it's a set play. Yeah, they're looking to hit the seam pass, and when that time, it has to be perfect timing. And then when you don't have it, it generates an offsides. And it's a credit to the Beacons, obviously recognizing that and causing enough disruption to create those offsides.
Norwich wins it backwards here. 18 on the man advantage, under a minute to go. Best will hold on, and he's forced to hold on for a man advantage. That shot was unlikely to beat him, but it does give Norwich an offensive zone draw here, and this is huge for UMass Boston. Can you win a draw? Ty Matthews will be the guy to take it.
Yeah, he put Matthews out there specifically for this draw, being it's on the right side. So
Matthews versus Kerner. Matthews battling for it. Norwich ends up with it with 10. Becker's shot deflected all the way in on Best, can't find it, and a chance to clear, and a good job by Ryan Rowland.
that puck was pretty close to going in. I don't know if Best saw that, Seth, and it looked like he got it late at Best.
Long shot, or long pass gets deflected in, no icing here. Winning the battle is Kerner with 25 to go. Beacon's not out of trouble yet. Bouncing puck, giving chase here is Banks, putting some pressure there on Mantaro. Down to 18 seconds to go. Near side, it's Gaudette. 1v1 there. We'll chip in, and we've got another whistle. And Norwich has too many players on the ice.
Yep.
Wow, what a break for UMass Boston. And just like that, already I felt like the Beacons had some positives to go into the break if it stayed at 1-0. Now you can potentially draw up, hey, this is what we're going to do on the power play. Big break for the Beacons. It'll be Kerner to serve it. I think it's too many players.
Either way, 2-minute minor. 13 seconds here. They lose that draw, so probably not going to get anything off of it, but should be coming into the second period with a power play.
Down to 5, all the way in on Best. He'll wisely leave it off for Peters, and that will do it for the first period. Norwich came out the aggressor. Norwich came out the better team and got the goal from Brett Oderkirk with the Beacons settled in. They matched Norwich's intensity. The PKs looked good, and 1:47 to go on the power play. I don't think this is going to be the most disheartened locker room that UMass Boston's had this year. I think there's a lot of positives after the slow start.
Well, I'll tell you what, Norwich was the faster team out of the gate, right? I think that was pretty obvious. They came out with some serious speed, and they were really kind of taking it to the Beacons there early on. And Beacons didn't really have a shot on goal, a quality shot on goal there for quite a while. And then the Beacons kind of found that extra gear and matched their speed. Now, if it wasn't for the set play from Norwich, this is a 0-0 hockey game, right? They had a really nice play they executed on. They were able to beat Best. They're going in 1-0. They're feeling pretty good here on the road. But if you're the Beacons, you're right there with them. They've got to find a way to generate more offense, Seth. And I think this power play, 1:47 going in to start the second period, should be that catalyst to generate some offense from this team. We haven't really heard a lot from these first two lines, and that's just because there's been a lot of neutral zone play. You mentioned that. It's pretty much been a neutral zone game so far. A few shots on goal here and there, and the one goal from Norwich. But Beacons really should be able to use this power play to catalyst themselves into the second period.
Norwich put up 52 shots last night. The Beacons put up 49. I think after this first period, we might have 15 to 20 maximum shots between the two sides.
And the pace, right? Two teams that played the night before. I mean, that was a lightning fast pace in that period. That's and for the whole period, not just most of it, the whole period.
Easier for Norwich, I would say. The biggest detriment to UMass Boston with the new schedule is losing Babson as a traveling partner. Norwich against Johnson & Wales, the second worst team in the conference standings. You can take it a little bit easier, especially after that big second period, which gave them a 5-2 lead after 2. The Beacons had to work against NEC, who they're 7th in the conference standings. That is not a bad team in any way, the Pilgrims of NEC. Right now, we're going to take a look at the highlights from last night's game. And the positive, if you're a Beacons fan, if you want to look on the bright side, it's a 0-0 game after 1. The Beacons scored the first 4 goals of the second, earned a 5-2 win over New England College. They're going to hope they have another big second period in store today at the Edward T. Barry Ice Rink. Norwich University leads it 1-0 after one. The 11th ranked Cadets. The first time these two teams met, Norwich was the preseason number one. Still number one at that point. It was Norwich out to a 1-0 lead. The Beacons scored 3 in a row, 1 in each of the 3 periods before Norwich tied it with 2 goals in the final minute 30. Let's take a look at the scoring summary. It's a quite short one. Brett Oderkirk scoring his 9th, second best on the team at 252. Assists to Isaac Chapman and Brian O'Mara, the 4th and 6th respectively. Not a lot of scoring, not all that many chances. A combined 23 shots, which to me seems a little bit high in terms of shots on goal. But as we take a look at the first period stats, Norwich deserves to have the lead in a lot of these things. The shots don't necessarily worry me, Matt. The face-offs is a bigger issue and a bigger concern for this Beacons team.
It's a great point, Seth, and I'm one that always is kind of keen on face-offs. I think it's one of the under-talked about aspects of a hockey game, and you take a look, you can see it on your screen here, a difference, but no standouts for the Beacons. You got Skinner as the only buddy with a winning percentage on face-offs at 4-3. The rest are even net 0 or negative, and that's not going to help you win any hockey games.
The interesting thing to me is we didn't see a lot of that fourth line, the combination of Banks, Adkins, and Bankowskis. Coley Bankowskis, to me, has been one of their best face-off takers all season long. He's not only tremendously fast, he's got really fast hands. Only had 3 face-offs. We didn't see a ton of the fourth line. Do you mix and match as this game goes along? 40 minutes left. But if you are struggling, especially in the face-offs, do you mix and match your centers or move guys around to get a guy like Bankowskis who we've seen play in the first line, the second, the third, and the fourth, get him more opportunities to win you some big draws?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I would give the centers a little bit more of an opportunity here in the second, but it's a quick trigger. And with a guy not only on faceoffs, but a guy with the speed of Bankowskis, it's going to be a fast game. We've seen that right in the first period, that clearly we're going to be playing with speed today, and Bankowskis is my best skater. So I think that's definitely something to utilize. I mean, taking a look, Norwich is going to make adjustments, right? And they're not happy, they're not satisfied with a 1-0 lead. Beacon's got to come out here. I think this power play is critical. One of the bigger moments in this hockey game, quite frankly, because obviously you want to score, but at bare minimum you want to get some scoring opportunities. You haven't tested this goalie yet. We haven't seen him come up with a big save whatsoever. Maybe you could make a case for that one on the front step with Nitkin. This power play is huge. And you mentioned, going back to what we were talking about with Bankowskis, that's a guy where if I can get him in on a set play and use that speed, right, to maybe generate some offense, I'm thinking about doing it if I'm a coach on the Beacons.
The positive for UMass Boston, they are on the power play for a minute 47 to start the second period. So while it says 0 for 2, they're really 0 for 1 plus. As Clark Kerner was called for tripping in 1947, I thought it was too many men. Either way, it's a 2-minute power play for UMass Boston. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about, but what are you aiming to do here to start the second period? We saw the momentum shift a little bit towards the Beacons, who were getting outplayed when they were able to kill off the first penalty on them. How do you use this power play as momentum advantage, even if you don't necessarily get a goal?
I think, right, like you said, even if you don't get a goal, and you've got to kind of expect that, right? I mean, at best, you're looking at, 25% on the power play. So percentage-wise, it'd be nice to get one, but statistically you might not. I think the Beacons got to be more willing to play in the corners. And I really didn't see a lot in that. I think we've seen a little bit too much stick handling, too much trying to get around players. I didn't see a lot of dumping and chasing. I didn't see a lot of work in the corners, not enough to really generate anything offensively. If I'm the Beacons, I'm talking about that in the locker room. Hey, we have to have a willingness to want to grind against this team, right? We know that talent-wise, they're right there with us. I don't think you want to get into a running gun with Norwich. I think you want to grind it out, make them work on puck battles along the wall, and you've got a team that's used to doing that. A lot of these players do that night in and night out. So if I'm on the Beacons coaching staff, I'm reminding them, hey, we've got a power play, but I'm talking a little bit about we've got to have a willingness to grind against the wall tonight if we want to walk out of here with a win.
Let's take a look around the rest of the conference. 2 other games going on right now. One non-conference game later on tonight and one game tomorrow. Babson and Elmira tied 0-0. Hobart had to move their games back from Friday, Saturday to Sunday, Monday. Southern Maine unable to play either game this weekend. Babson's travel partner, so Babson will play Saturday, Sunday. Tied at 0 after 1. New England College, who we saw yesterday, they're at 9th place Johnson & Wales. They're not having any troubles. They're a better team than their record. SUNY Cortland at Skidmore College in a non-conference tilt. And then a huge one tomorrow. Madison plays the 10th-ranked team today on the road. Then they've got the 5th-ranked team tomorrow. That can certainly shift some of the conference standings heading into next weekend. A look right now at the rest of Beaconville. These two teams are playing in women's hockey. It was Norwich scoring 2 goals in a minute 30 span of the second period to take a 2-0 lead. Anna Gustafson just scored about 8 minutes left in regulation. The Beacons trying to win at a place that, just like the men's team, they really struggle up at Kreitzberg Arena, although they did win a title back in 2016, if I remember. Men's basketball, a tough one. They're playing their first game in just about a month. They currently trail at 64-54 at first place, Keene State College. Let's take a look at the highlights from the most recent women's hockey game here at home. A tough 3-2 setback in overtime against the Amherst College Mammoths. And here's back. And Google Center, and first look there. Wild, shoots the Victoria with a pair of trailers. Colby takes it out wide. Oh, the goal line. Colby still with it. Those are the highlights from Tuesday's game. Right now, let's take a look at the highlights from the first period. Matt, Norwich got off to a hot start. The Beacons had a couple of chances. This, I believe, was the early look from Clifton.
Yeah, through the slot there. You see him coming off the wall, right? Good shot. That was early in the hockey game. I think only maybe a minute or two into this hockey game. Here's the set play. That's a really nice play. That's a high to low, and then they just kind of, the tendency is to just, as you can see, you just lose that forward there. Right off the top circle, and he makes a great shot. That's a really nice play and great execution by Norwich.
And from that point on, the Beacons' chances were few and far between. That's a good look from Nicken that was on target. The Beacons had, I'd say, 3 really good looks in the period from 3 of their better players. Only one actually challenged Atherton. This forced a penalty on Ryan Bogan. 2 penalties on each side in the first period. They only had 2 penalties each in the first game in that one, with both teams going 0 for 2. The Beacons will start the second on the power play. Here was a decent look from Chris Peters with Matthews trying to follow it up. bounces didn't necessarily end up going the Beacons' way in the first, but it's the Beacons team that hasn't necessarily been tested during this recent run, and you'd like to see them step it up even more here in the second.
Yeah, it's a solid period, I thought, by both teams. It was that one I think bothered me the most. There's Peters in the slot and just misses the net. I think the puck was rolling on him there. That's a goal scorer who knows how to get pucks on net. I think it was a kind of a fluky play, but a huge opportunity. You mentioned a minute 47 here to really take it to Norwich early in this period. This is a moment in this hockey game you're going to look back on one way or another. Let's see what the Beacons can do.
Minute 47 to go on the power play after the penalty on Clark Kerner. That one nearly comes up and connects with the Norwich bench. Beacons going from right to left. Matt, one of the things that you and I talked about off air, Norwich spent a large portion of the intermission out of the locker room with the whiteboard. What can we potentially expect out of Norwich here in the second?
They recognized something the Beacons were doing. If I had to guess, they saw a tendency on the ice that they're going to try to exploit. Might not necessarily be on this shorthand chance here or the power play for the Beacons, but something that they saw they were doing, whether it be in the neutral zone, on the forecheck, that they thought they could exploit. There were too many guys outside that locker room for it to just be a power play, penalty kill type of deal.
Well, the Beacons aren't making it any easier on themselves. They clear the puck as it got through two Beacons, and then there's a shot from distance that comes all the way in on best from Scott Swanson, the fourth line captain. Ty Matthews will bring it in. This is the Beacons' top unit. Matthews, Skinner, Peters, Krupinski, and not Walker, but Nicken as a cadet gets knocked down, but an easy clearance there all the way down the length of the ice. Best will slow it down off the look from Monte Leone. Still 37 seconds to go. Norwich 2 shots. UMass Boston 0 thus far in the second period. Duncan in the second group is coming out. And again, another clearance from Norwich. Putting a little bit of pressure here is Jones. And he'll force Best to play it as Peters holds off Jones. And it's Skinner picking up with 15. Near side, it's Moran. Moran turns, swerves, and will attempt to dump it down low. Gets through Liss. Battling for it is Duncan, who's one of the biggest bodies on this Beacons team, especially with Helt out of the lineup. With 4 seconds, Moran to the front of the net. Whiffs on the backhand. Puck still loose. Chance from the blue line. That was Keegan. There's a second look from Skinner that goes wide. The Beacons still control. Stick loose. That catches the side of the post there. And the shot from Skinner, I'm not sure if that was deflected. It'll go up into the netting, but a really good look from Pat Keegan of all the possible players.
They were right there, Seth, and Keegan with a great play, Atherton with his maybe best save of the day, and they were really buzzing around the front of the net, just couldn't get that puck. You know, there was an opportunity there. I saw backdoor. Bogan was trying to creep in, and they couldn't find him. And I think if they connect on that pass, I'll get a whistle here. If they connect on that pass, you wonder, could they have gotten a better opportunity than what they had? Because it looks like Norwich was really packing the house. They did a good job defensively. There wasn't a ton of real estate in front of the goaltender there. Beacon's going to have to try to get a little bit more creative, probably have to activate the D a little bit more than they're used to today.
Well, UMass Boston got 0 looks on the physical power play, but a couple right after as this is pushed into the zone. Petrozello will chip it back out, collected by Concannon, who had a goal and assist. First time these two teams played, only has 3 points. Beacons whistled offsides as Concannon was getting wrestled to the ice. And we'll get a draw just outside the Norwich zone with both teams making some changes.
Be curious to check the pace for this period. We saw lightning fast speed in the first. See if that maintains here in the second now that we're playing 5-a-side.
Skinner wins it cleanly. Back for Browning. Rolling with it, who had an assist last night, chipping it in, giving chase to the combination of Walker and Nicken. Nicken chipping it out, looking for Skinner. Walker comes over and keeps it alive. Shot from distance, well wide by Browning just to keep it alive. Out as far as Roland, who will chip it right in. The Beacons have to touch up, and it'll leave time for Mantaro. Keegan Mantaro out of Monument, Colorado. Started in state at D1 Air Force, ended up with a different military academy at Norwich. Interesting to see if he's still in the military program at Norwich. You don't have to be. So there's the shot from Nick. It leaves it for Skinner on the rebound. That little tip from Becker might be the difference between a goal and a shot going wide.
I think it absolutely was, Seth. Good catch.
Into the zone, it's Chapman. Chapman all the way across for Liss. Best to save, big fat rebound, and it's Skinner who will issue it away. Behind the net, Krupinski bodies the cadet off the puck. Getting over there is Bogan, who tries to float it out, was aiming for Skinner, who's been out there for a while, and easily could have tied it there off that's a Beacon set play we've seen year after year.
Off pad, that's one of their specialties. And yeah, you mentioned it, Skinner, he's not going to miss. If that puck, I agree with you, I think it was slightly deflected because he's not going to shank it as bad as he did otherwise. He's a goal scorer.
Let's take a look at that replay. I think we have it right here. It's Nicken and Skinner, two of the Beacon senior leaders, and it almost worked to perfection.
Yeah, really nice speed through the neutral zone from Nick, and you see off pad there. Oh, man, I don't know, just millimeters, millimeters.
It's Devin Becker,
yeah.
And it's a blind, no-look swipe at the puck that knocks it off the trajectory a little bit and enough to make it more difficult on Skinner. Great play there by Becker, the Bryn Athens transfer. What a find for Norwich. Literally a D3 program that closes. They'd only been at the D3 level for a couple of years, and he has been phenomenal this year. 2 goals, 17 assists for the senior out of Langley, British Columbia.
Yeah, tremendous. I mean, talk about a diamond in the rough.
Tukany, who took that penalty in the first period, making his first collegiate appearance for the extra skater. It's Peters behind the net, the New York native. Able to find Matthews in stride. Matthews 1v3, loses the puck. The Beacons are offside, and they're going to have to touch up. Clifton now realize it. There's still a stick down in the Beacon zone. Matthews will push it. I thought that stick was from a shift before, but must have been a little bit more recent. It's Kerner chipping it out towards the Norwich bench. Moran almost had a big hit. Petrozella steps up, and it's in the Norwich bench, and we'll get a whistle.
It's going to be a little bit more of a physical period, I think, here, Seth. You're starting to feel it in this rink, and players are starting to take exception, maybe taking a couple hits and want to return the favor here soon. I expect to see some big ones in this period. I think we're going to see the speed and the pace at which we're playing is going to come down just a level or two, and it's going to lead to a little bit more, some more physical altercations.
Duncan versus Kerner, one back by Duncan in that battle of very talented freshmen. Whipping it around is Keegan, another freshman on this Beacons team. Leaving it, there's Moran, who has it tipped off his puck at the last possible second. Duncan from below the goal line needs an option. We'll cycle it around for Petrozella and right back. Just out of the reach of Duncan. Keegan pinching forward, and Keegan takes it off the stick of Moran and then lifts it over the head there of Atherton. Petrozella through traffic, tipped in there by Duncan, out for Keegan, whose shot goes just over Atherton. Much better look that time from Pat Keegan.
Missed the net there, man. I'd love to see you get that on net. Great shift here by this line, though. Tremendous shift.
Duncan, Moran, and Concannon. This group was the same from yesterday with the exception of Concannon replacing Mankowskis, but really, really good looks. Alex Duncan has been a tremendous find for the Beacons out of the Danbury Hat-Tricks junior program, which I don't think you can have a much better name for a junior hockey team than the Hat-Tricks.
You like that? You know who they replaced, right?
Gosh, there have been so many teams in Danbury. The Whalers at one point?
It might be, but originally that's where the Danbury Trash was played, famed by the Netflix documentary.
You could name a team the Hat-Tricks, instead you named them the Trashers.
Yeah, are you familiar? I mean, have you seen them?
I am not familiar with that particular Netflix, but
the Trashers. You got to see it.
As a player loses his stick right off the faceoff, that was a Norwich player, Brendan Jones, sophomore out of Pembroke, Mass. Norwich has quite a few players out of Massachusetts, including one guy, Brady Gaudette, we talked about, you thought should have been a UMass Boston Beacon at the mid-semester. Bankowskis couldn't quite get there on the centering feed, and it's rare that a guy of his speed couldn't quite get it as he flies back on the defensive end. Jones over for Van de Rocker.
Gaudette should definitely be a Beacon from Braintree, Mass, 10 minutes down the road.
Probably has played at the Edward T. Barry ice rink many times throughout his life. Browning pins a cadet to the boards. 13:33 to go in a scoreless second period. The difference right now, a Brett Oderkirk goal less than 3 minutes into the first. Chipping that one wide of the net is Nagel. Bounces all the way through Bankowskis. Out of the zone, but not much further. And now Bankowskis tries to beat the double team. Pushed ahead, and it will come out as it's picked up by Oderkirk. Has a couple trailers. Oderkirk looking at taking himself all the way to the net, and he loses it in the side netting. Behind the net, Oderkirk giving battle with Rowland. Pushes him off the puck. Oderkirk able to find a teammate as Norwich took advantage there of the short change. and able to get some zone time. Here's Nicken all the way over for Bogan, backhand feed, glove save. Walker couldn't get a piece on it. And what looked like a potential promising rush there, an easy save for Drennan Atherton, the Sacred Heart transfer.
Well, the puck was rolling on Nitkin there on the rush, and he was trying to find Bogan, but because it was rolling, he ended up, the pass was behind him. And I like what Bogan did. He didn't try to do too much. He knew the pass was behind him, wasn't going to get a great shot, just funnel it towards the net. And it didn't really result in much, but those are the types of plays where you can really get, if you try to get too creative, it ends up coming down back on your goaltender the other way. I like what Bogan did. Just get it on net, live to fight another day.
Skinner loses the draw with Auburn. Beacons haven't had all that many offensive zone draws, haven't been able to take advantage. Norwich scoring their lone goal off a set play as a couple of cadets go down after a huge hit. I think that was Nicken on the far side. Krupinski behind his own net. Long stretch pass, slow by Nicken for Skinner. Nicken right back for Skinner, cross ice, and it's in! Krupinski, his second collegiate goal. How about that for tic-tac-toe passing?
Oh, just a tremendous play, Seth. And with full speed. I mean, you can't make a play faster than the Beacons just did. This cross-ice pass was hard and fast, backdoor, and Krupinski's right there on the rush, and that's what I love. Recognizing the play, that's hockey sense. Understanding I've got a lane here. If I can get this back door and the forward recognizes me, it's a goal. And sure enough, they connect on the pass. That's an easy goal for Krupinski after the hard effort to hit that seam. 1-1 hockey game.
Second collegiate goal for the Dallas Texan native, who's on the top line today for UMass Boston with Nick DeLuzio unavailable. Huge for a guy who started the season injured. He was hurt in the preseason. Came back is playing in his 13th consecutive goal, 2 goals and 6 assists. Corey Clifton shifts after, attempted shot gets knocked away by Callum Jones. We'll follow it up. Chance for Norwich on the breakout, but Ty Matthews, some good stick work to deny Norwich there. Assist for Jeffrey Skinner, picks up his 7th of the year, and Ethan Nicken give him 22 points now, 12 goals and 10 assists, extends his point streak to 8 in a row. The Beacons get one back. Both teams using some fancy stick work and passing to beat these very talented goalies. Matthews whiffs on the pass, tries to leave it for Clifton. Right back for Matthews, who just wrestles off the smaller Nagel there. Good strength there from Ty Matthews, the true freshman for UMass Boston out of Auburn, Mass. Nearing the midway point of this game, and all of a sudden, we've got a new game after the Beacons are able to tie it. Easy save for Atherton, forced to hold on. Let's take another look at that goal from Michael Krupinski.
Yeah, take a look at Skinner entering the zone with speed. You're going to see the pass, a nice breakout pass here right on the tape. Quick touch by Nicken. Now watch Skinner, looks right over and finds Krupinski coming back door. Now Krupinski's got to recognize, if I can get there in time, I've got it. And sure enough, Skinner recognizes he's looking for that pass. Just a great heads-up play by two guys that clearly have practiced enough to know I can hit this seam. I can trust Skinner's going to find me, and that's a backdoor. That's an easy tap-in for Krupinski. Nice hockey play.
Nothing Atherton could do there. I don't think Drennan Atherton knew that Michael Krupinski was coming backside.
I don't think many did. It's defenseman. It takes some guts to be able to do that. You've really got to trust, hey, I know if I hit this seam, Skinner's going to find me, because otherwise you can get caught on a rush going the other way.
If he shoots that short side and that wraps around, you're in a world of trouble
Big
going
time.
the other way.
Big time.
Duncan trying to slide that one through. Pinching is Browning with some help from Moran going backwards. Alex Duncan doesn't have a point today, but he has been really good here in the second period.
He is, and the thing I like, Seth, is he's willing to work off the wall. He has taken a big hit there. He has taken some hits, but he's also given some hits, and he's working off the wall today. That's something the Beacons need more of.
Big time hit from Dakota Concannon on Monteleone. Dakota Concannon, a guy who's been injured throughout a lot of his career, getting a rare chance. He is very, very good in terms of his handwork.
Another hit.
Some big hits. That's Andy Walker, another Beacon not known for their hits. Skinner takes a shot. That one he lifts high, kept in the zone by Bogan. Bouncing puck and a chance to go the other way. It's Daggett. Holding Daggett. Pushed away Mantaro and eventually stripped. It's Skinner who's been another strong Beacon here in the period. Bogan will just chip that one wide. It's Norwich in the midst of a change.
Clearly momentum with the Beacons right here, and if I'm on the coaching staff, I'm mentioning, hey, the hits are working. Continue to bang bodies, especially when you get an opportunity on the forecheck. It seems as though Norwich is having a little bit of trouble generating some offense of their own right now, and I think it has to do with the physical play of the Beacons.
Here comes Krupinski, the goal scorer, ahead for Skinner. Those two combine on that goal. And let's take another look at that Beacons goal right now. One more look at Michael Krupinski's second collegiate goal, and it all starts with the seniors.
Well, and again, the breakout pass just before this, a quick touch pass from Nick and back to Skinner. Now, again, that's a defenseman, folks, coming in off the blue line. And you really can only do that if you trust, like you mentioned, Seth, you trust you're going to get that pass. If Skinner chooses to shoot there, you've got a defenseman that's now caught low in zone, and it's likely a rush coming down the back end. Instead, Skinner, with his head up, right, recognizes I've got a backdoor option now. Smart of him to look for it in the first place, and puts it right on tape for Krupinski to hit that pass, or catch that pass and put it home.
9:14 to go in the second. We're tied at 1 as the Beacons still battling for the offensive zone draw. They do not win this one. Matt, you talked about Norwich wanting to make some change, taking advantage of some of the Beacons' tendencies. What have you seen differently from UMass Boston? Outside of the physicality, has there been anything different in terms of what the Beacons have done in this period that has led them to be more successful as Best holds the corner and the attempted wraparound chance while the player loses his edge, and that makes it a bit easier on the Beacons?
They started with the power play, Seth, and I think the momentum there has never dissipated. And they're matching, on top of that, they're matching Norwich's speed. A shot there, good save by Best off the shoulder. They're matching Norwich's speed. In the first period, it seemed like they were still a couple notches down. Now they're right there with them, and you can see they're flying up and down the ice.
Adkins for Banks, who nearly lost it. Good job coming over to help by Petrozella, centering feed for Adkins, who barely gets a tip, and now a chance to go the other way with speed. Working with it is Callum Jones. The defenseman, easy save for Best, and now he'll head off as Norwich was in the midst of a change. Puck comes all the way around, doesn't have a ton of legs. Banks forced to come back towards the puck, battling with Ovid. 8:04 to go. Norwich scored the opener 3 minutes into the first. The Beacons got one back just prior to the midway point of this second period. Chance for Nagel, low shot, toe save from Best.
Great save.
Nagel right back for Aubin. Rare long stretch of possession for Norwich in the offensive zone. Shot never makes it to Best. Matthews chips it out of the zone, but only as far as the red line as Belial screaming for changes, and the Beacons will get 2 new skaters on.
Yeah, D-Core is still tired here, though. You're going to need another clear here in a minute.
Well, they got at least one defenseman on as Bogan was off the bench. There's a shot that Best somehow makes the save through a ton of traffic. Best stretch for Norwich by far here in the second period. Bogan wrestling there, trying to avoid a hold. Up top, it's Nagel. Nagel has options. D-to-D pass for Monteleone. Again, Bogan gets in front of that shot. Now it's Matthews high up off the boards. Chipped ahead for Peters, cross-ice pass, and now Clifton's going to try to take him in the zone and get the Beacons some changes.
Smart play from Peters to not just dump that and take the icing. Find Clifton on the pass, and now you get the full change without any type of repercussion.
Yep, and now Clifton gets his turn to come off the bench. 5 new skaters for the Beacons and fresh legs. Krupinski from below the goal line dishes it off for Bogan, who has been great this weekend for UMass Boston. Cross-ice pass as Beacons are asking for more changes from the bench. Monteleone ahead. Kerner got a piece of it all the way in on Best, and that will allow Norwich to get an offensive zone draw. 6:30 to go. Norwich 1, UMass Boston 1 here at the Barry. The Beacons looking to potentially earn a 6-point lead over Norwich in the standings with the game in hand. That would be a massive advantage.
Especially the way the conference has played out so far this year, Seth.
And, Matt, we haven't even talked about it, getting into the nitty-gritty of the conference, but one thing the Beacons have in their back pocket, a home-and-home against travel partner Johnson & Wales, the 9th-place team in the conference. If that's not a 6-point weekend, Peter Belial might make the team walk home.
It's what it's all about this year with games being postponed, and you've got teams with games in hand, and it's so close, right? We talked about a 2-3 game difference between 1st and 6th.
Concannon able to get it out of the zone. Mantaro grabs it, pushes it forward there for O'Mara. First line out there for Norwich, trying to keep this little bit of momentum after they've had 2 good shifts in a row. Beacons chip it in. Moran giving chase, a little bit of pressure, chipped right back out, and Keegan will slow down the Cadets. Puck is loose at center ice, all the way in on Best. Best doesn't want to cover this time, and will leave it for Krupinski, the lone Beacons goal scorer. Ahead, and it's Nickett who had the secondary assist on that Krupinski goal. Nickett Holds, slides, circles it around for Keegan, who's had a couple good looks here in the second period. He's tripped up, comes all the way out to the point where Walker was covering for him. Beacon's second line has started the last couple of games. They are Beacon's hottest line. Shot from distance. Good look from Ryan Rowland. He's got a goal to his name this season. All the way out top. Keegan, the lone player there for either side. He'll dump it in and head to the bench. Behind the net, Nicken in the midst of two cadets battling. There is Ethan Nicken, has been one of the Beacon's top players for the past couple weeks. He's the goal scorer on this second line with Walker and Skinner, tremendous playmakers. Rowland, far side for Browning. Will elect to just shove that one down low, doesn't even look for the shot. Trying to clear and unable to do so. Browning went up like a center fielder there. The Beacons will get called for an offside. Browning did start his athletic career as a baseball player in LA and showed off the hands a little bit there, going up to rob the Cadets' clearance.
Yeah, he got that one for sure. They had to get full extension to keep that puck in. It actually really helped the Beacons because if that puck gets past them, it could be a rush down the other side. Instead, you'll take an offsides and a neutral zone draw over a rush down on your own goalie. Absolutely.
Beacons top line back out there. Matthews gets the face-off win. Ty in this first line has been much better here in the second period. All four lines have been much better creating the chances. Norwich was aiming to find O'Neill there, but he couldn't find the puck and allows the Beacons to get it right back in the zone. I'd say this period has probably been about 60-40, maybe even 65-35 in favor of the Beacons after Norwich clearly had the edge in the first period. Beacons not only lead in the goal-scoring department, but they probably have an advantage of shots after Norwich led 14-9 in the first. Matthews waiting on reinforcements, gains the zone not much further. Keegan trying to dig it out, and the puck eventually finds its way to Chapman. 3:56 to go in the second. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Matt Meisenbacher here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. It's the Beacons' 8th game on an 8-game homestand, 6-1 thus far. Looking to go to 7-1. Chapman's shot knocked down by Krupinski, pushed ahead for Duncan, high and hard off the boards, slowed by Mantaro at center ice. Behind the net, it's Krupinski. Over for Bogan. Bogan will float it out, and that's enough to gain the zone and put the Beacons' forecheckers to work. Chipped out just out of the reach there of Duncan for Del Vecchio. Fourth line out there for
nice hit.
Norwich. Big hit from Krupinski. Krupinski totally legal. Neither team has been whistled for a penalty here in the second after both teams were called for two in the first period. Chance in the slot. Del Vecchio shot right into the body of Concanen, who gets back up. Krupinski into the zone, still working with it, holding off the smaller Callum Jones. Jones finally able to pick it up and finds a teammate there in the form of Swanson. Poked forward by Brendan Jones, and Norwich in the midst of a change. Easy chance to gain the zone here for the Beacons as Nicken runs into List, and that's a penalty.
Absolutely, interference, without a doubt. Nicken's trying to forecheck there and just gets completely taken off his feet. That's an easy call.
And it's not easy to take Ethan Nicken off his feet.
No, a big boy, but that one is pretty easy from a referee standpoint, and I'll tell you what, a golden opportunity here if you're the Beacons. It's been a pretty even period. They've got one. They were able to tie it up, and you've got 2 minutes of power play time with 2 minutes and 34 seconds in actual clock time. Huge opportunity.
Beacons 0 for 2 on the power play. Operate at just over 27% on the season as the puck comes all the way around. Did Peters keep it in? He did. Peters, Nicken, Matthews, Bogan, and Clifton. Typically it would be Nolan Barrett, but the freshman defenseman that UMass Boston's coaches have compared to Nick Albano in terms of his style of play, not in the lineup today. Is that one just out of the reach of Clifton? Chance for a 2v2 the other way. Aubin skating with Kerner. Kerner with Peters the man in front, and he loses it. That's a tough matchup for Peters. Don't love that forward versus forward, especially the top forward for Norwich. Matthews fighting off two players, able to get it over for Nicken, and the Beacons set up with 80 seconds to go on the man advantage. Peters down low for Clifton. Beacons scored once on the man advantage last night, 1 for 6. Norwich allowed 1 power play goal on 2 opportunities to Johnson and Wales. Still a minute 4 to go. Just about 90 seconds to go in the second period as the Beacons fumble with it. Chance for Mantaro. Instead, I'll leave it off for Mantaleone. And that's an easy clear for the Cadets.
Such a subtle little play there. Peters on the blue line. The puck jumps over his blade, comes out of the zone. Now, instead of setting up in the zone, the rest of the power play, you got to get a change, and you weren't able to really set up. That's just a small nuance of the game that could be a difference at the end of the day.
Good back check from Brendan Jones to take it off the stick of Skinner. Keegan can't keep it in. Now Keegan battling, and it's a chance for 2-on-1. O'Neal, shot save, and
huge stop
with an unbelievable stop.
And another one.
I believe it was Brendan Jones on the backside, and easily the best save of the night for Sam Best.
Huge save, Seth. That unbelievable stretching to get across, I thought that was in the net for sure. And Best was able to get a pad on it. Not only that, he got a rebound.
10 seconds left on the man advantage, 40 seconds to go in the period. Skinner's floating shot doesn't get all the way through. This one is cleared as far as Keegan. Gives it over for Petrozello right at the blue line. His shot tipped up high. 30 seconds to go. We're back to 5-on-5. Norwich tries to find the player coming out of the box. That's Tukane. They're going to wave off the potential icing as they say caught a little bit of the stick there of Keegan. Beacons try to get one last rush. Skinner pushing it across for Concannon with 14 seconds. The Beacons will push it in, getting 4 new skaters out there. Mantaro ahead for Swanson, out to the blue line, kept alive by Krupinski to the circle with 3. Adkins whiffs on the shot. Backhand feed from Concannon, just wide off a couple of players. Well, for about 18 and a half minutes, it felt like UMass Boston was dominating. It easily could have been a 2-1 game going into the second in favor of the Cadets.
Easily.
And now, instead we go to the third even, and I think both teams can take some positives from this second period in the first 40.
It seemed like a nothing play, right? But the Beacons finally set up on that power play late in the period, and that little bounce of the puck over Peters' blade could almost cost it not only the power play for the Beacons, but it had a butterfly effect. They had to get a change. Norwich comes down on a rush, and if it wasn't for Sam Best extending that pad, it's a fantastic save set. That's one of the best I've seen all weekend. He made that save and the rebound save to keep it 1-1. Overall, I agree with you. I think the Beacons had a really strong second period, especially out of the gate. They didn't score on the initial power play, but it seemed like that generated momentum for them for at least 10 minutes, if not more, and they really were taking it to Norwich for a good part of that period. Now, that being said, only 1 goal to show. We're in for a tilt here in this third period. 1-1 hockey game, and it's really gone both ways.
Right now, we're going to take a look at a Beacon spotlight with Davis Browning. You see it more and more. It's becoming a little bit more common, but I'm always interested to hear the stories of hockey players who come from non-hockey locales. Davis Browning, one of the odder stories, started in LA as a baseball player, moved to Texas and got the chance to play hockey, ended up at UMass Boston. This is his Beacon spotlight from the 2019-20 season.
Growing up in California, hockey's not the, big sport there. It's obviously the Lakers and the Dodgers and stuff like that. And I was a big baseball player. My dad would coach 3 teams at a time for me on them and stuff like that. But went to a Kings game when I was super young, just fell in love with it. Actually, I remember in the intermission, they had the kids that were probably 10, 12 years old come out in the intermission and play. And I just related to them and thought that was pretty cool, and ever since then I was begging my parents to let me play, but it was in the midst of a baseball season, stuff like that, and for a couple of years they didn't like the idea of it and stuff like that, and finally they just said, if you want to go with hockey, we'll support you, but you got to make a decision, one or the other, and made a decision to play hockey, and actually got the chance to play in prep school, played baseball also, so played both sports, which was pretty cool, but since that day it's always been hockey. So in 7th grade, we moved as a family down there and stuff like that, and the first thing, obviously, getting situated and stuff like that, but it was, where am I going to play, not knowing the programs and stuff like that, and it's really, kind of eye-opening how many programs they have there. There's only 2 AAA teams and stuff like that, but at the time it was AA, and there's, upwards of 15 to 20 different programs like that, so, just found myself on a team like that, and then kind of just worked my way up to the one prominent one, which a lot of the boys, on the team, I played them through, their AAA teams and stuff, but it's the Dallas Stars Elite through, obviously, the Dallas Stars and stuff like that. So it was in the Tier 1 Elite League, a really, really good league for guys growing up, and I found myself playing in Massachusetts a lot. Philadelphia, Detroit, all throughout the country, more towards the east and stuff like that. But I mean, that's still to this day some of the best players I've ever played against and with on my team. I mean, we're like top 10. So that kind of opened people's eyes. A Texas team that was top 10 and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was just a really good experience. Some of the best memories I made were playing with those hockey guys in Dallas, and a lot of them are still up here. Playing for New Hampshire, other Division I teams out east. Boston University, I have a couple buddies on there from Dallas. So yeah, I keep in touch with them, but they're all pretty close by up here. People always ask the question. I mean, I was actually talking to a family the other day at the game saying they took a vacation to Texas just to watch a high school football game, which is, I mean, you get that a lot. And people always ask hockey, is there anywhere to play and stuff like that. But at least in the summer and stuff like that, I think there's 7 or 8 rinks within 20, 30 minutes from me. So it's, easy to get to and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, get the question, why hockey in Texas, stuff like that. But that was especially when I was 16, that team that was ranked top 10, that was our mentality going into the game. And I mean, we get chirped, the typical like horse, and you rode your horse to school, stuff like that, playing hockey. But that was definitely our mentality. And actually it was, one of my buddies was drafted in the NHL from Dallas, and I just read an article about him the other day, and the title, like, breaking the odds and stuff like that, coming from Texas. So it's a lot of our mentality and stuff like that. But it's continuing to grow.
That was Davis Browning talking about playing hockey in the Southwest of America. He's making his 9th appearance of the season, the junior out of Dallas, Texas, in the lineup after the Beacons lost 2 defensemen yesterday. Let's take a look at the scoring summary, Matt. 1 goal either side. It was Brett Oderkirk at 2:52 of the first, Michael Krupinski at 7:37 of the second. Both good goals. But the passing on both goals was probably the more impressive. Left both goalies with very little chance to make a save.
Yeah, both these goals are like how you draw them up pretty much in a coaching session. Tic-tac-toe on the tape. And I think for me, what really stood out on both goals was the ability to put them on the tape, right? In both instances, and that's something that a lot of players work on, but it's very hard to do when you're doing it at full pace. And we saw both these goals, they were put in an area where the shooter didn't really have to adjust at all. He could just fire it right away. And you saw that on both goals here. 1-1 hockey game, not too many scoring opportunities, but 2 that obviously are on the scoreboard that were highlight worthy.
The assists on the goals, Isaac Chapman and Brian O'Mara for Norwich on the first goal, Jeffrey Skinner and Ethan Nicken for UMass Boston. Let's take a look at the second period statistics. Norwich still has the advantage, but UMass Boston did hold the advantage in shots in the second period, 13-11. Faceoffs were 14-9 after 1, 23-14. So, again, favored in favor of Norwich. The positive for UMass Boston, if anything, was there were more faceoffs in the offensive end and the neutral zone. Norwich didn't get as many looks in the Beacons' defensive end there in the period. And penalties for a Norwich team that averages less than 5 minutes of penalties per game, already 6. The Beacons have stayed disciplined against the Norwich team again. A power play percentage in conference of over 43% thus far. Their PK tops in the conference at 90% right now. It has held up to the job.
It really has. I take a look at the faceoffs, though. Again, you heard me in the first period. I see Auben and I see O'Neill at 6-1 and 6-2. And then I look over and I see Bankowskis, I see Duncan at 1-4 and 1-5. That has to change.
And Kincannon at 0-4.
And Kincannon 0-4. So that right there tells me you've got a serious problem after my first line center. We were losing faceoffs at too quick of a pace. It's got to be better. It doesn't have to be a whole advantage going the other side, but it's got to be closer than that.
Yeah, Matthews at 6 of 12, Skinner at 5 of 9. So top 2 lines are doing decently. It's better than they were doing in the first. Bottom line's not as strong right now. At this point, let's take a look at some highlights from last Saturday. The Beacons women's basketball team's only game of 2022 thus far, as they have been hit with some COVID postponements, both with them and with other sides. This was a 76-62 conference win over Plymouth State University. Those were the highlights from last weekend's women's basketball game. They have not played since then. They were supposed to play at Keene State today. That game got postponed. Women's hockey, tough 2-1 loss. Outshot the Cadets. Got a goal late in the third period, unable to get a second. They fall 2-1. Got 3 points yesterday against NEC. They're finally back at home in conference play this upcoming Friday and Saturday. Men's basketball, a 14-point loss at Keene State College, the conference leader. And indoor track and field, they were supposed to be at Brandeis today. That track and field meet was canceled. Let's take a look around the conference. The big one, Babson and Elmira. 4-goal second period, 3 in favor of the Eagles. And it's Elmira College leading the Beavers 3-1 in the second. That is the toughest road trip, in my opinion, in the conference. Elmira and Hobart, it's a long trek for most of the schools in the conference. Two really tough schools, and I think they're both also really, really cold rinks. Which,
I never played at Hobart, but Elmira, yeah.
Well, I can tell you from experience of standing at a game in March for an NCAA tournament and warming my hands with hot chocolate, it is freezing.
First-hand experience. Can't beat that.
It was warmer in the parking lot than inside the rink.
Never good.
New England College leads Johnson and Wales 3-0, and the big one tomorrow, Babson at Hobart, as that game was postponed from yesterday to Sunday. Hobart also playing a non-conference game on Monday. Quick look ahead for UMass Boston. This is the first of 4 games against teams in the top 6 in the NEHC. At Babson on Friday. Those two teams used to be travel partners. Now they play a couple months apart. Beacons won the first one 4-3 at home. Alex Duncan with a pair of goals. Looking for the sweep of the Beavers. It's been a while since they've done that. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll have Elmira on Friday, Hobart on Saturday. That's a huge weekend, but right now the Beacons have a huge period. And before we talk about the third, let's talk about the second and the highlights from that second period for you right now. Matt Meisenbacher, it's the quickest minute 30 of our intermission show, and I'm just going to watch.
I got to get my Chris Berman on here. But it's going to be a little bit different from what we saw in the first period, where it was mostly Norwich highlights. This is going to be a lot of Beacons highlights. And you can see just their ability to get towards the front of the net. And moving pucks, guys are moving in motion all around the puck, giving options. And you can see just generating more offense, a lot more offense than they did in that first period. And there's a shot there. I thought, man, if Skinner had the entire net, if that one, I'm still convinced that one got deflected, because I think he scores that more times than not. But you can see a lot of these highlights, just Beacons really taking it to Norwich. And here's another opportunity. Keegan missed the net there. I thought that one, would have loved to seen that one get on net. And I thought at this point, Seth, where Beacons were really kind of pressing, starting to press a little bit. Boy, do we need one. And then sure enough, here's the goal. And just a couple touch passes between Nikin and Skinner, and just a really smart play by Krupinski to get back door, folks. I can't stress enough, a defenseman who recognizes what's going on offensively, right? We were so focused on defensemen playing defense, to have that offensive awareness to join the rush there and tuck that home. And Best with a great stop. He's going to have another one here and a couple highlights. But he really shut the door, and this is the one I thought for sure could have ended up in the back of the net. A great extension. Boy, you can see there. It comes all the way across and then makes that rebound save as well. Just a full extension to keep it a 1-1 hockey game, and that's where we stand going into the third period.
You know who had the outlet pass there that started that goal? Michael Krupinski.
Krupinski, yeah.
Unbelievable that Krupinski started the whole play and then went the entire length of the ice.
Up the weak side, yeah.
Really, really impressive play from
He put that on the tape, too.
From the freshman defenseman. Yeah, I mean, a lot of good things to say about Michael Krupinski. Third period, 1-1. The Beacons have been disciplined. The Beacons had the edge in the second period. Obviously, we want to see them do better in the faceoffs. What else do you want to see out of this Beacons team here in the third?
Shots on goal. And I think you can't try to be too creative or too fancy here in the third period. You've got a 1-1 hockey game at home. You can feel the energy in the building. You're going to hear it here before puck drop. I'm getting shots on goal. If I have a chance to shoot, I'm taking it.
No fans at the Barry today. No fans the last couple weeks. You have to create your own energy on the bench. That's what the two teams are trying to do. Shots thus far, 25 for Norwich, 22 for the Beacons. UMass Boston had a slim 13-11 edge in the second period. Krupinski pushing across for Bogan. Bogan shot a little bit wide. Beacons continue to go with that second line to start. Skinner, Walker, and Nikin, three veteran players on a team that has quite a few underclassmen in the lineup. Shot from Nikin, catches the back of the skate there of Becker, and a chance to clear here for Brady Gaudette, who's been much quieter than his Norwich debut. Nikin shot off the knee there of Clark Kerner in front to deny a chance, and another tip as Nikin was looking from a shot from the slot. Bogan skitters one wide. Behind the net, it's Nikin centering it, aiming for Skinner, who had an arm wrapped around his neck. And the Beacons will bring it right back in as both teams get a mini change. Walker dangling his way through for Krupinski's centering feed, tipped out by a cadet. This will go down the left of the ice. No icing. And Best will settle for Petrozella. Minute gone by. All Beacons thus far in the third period. Aubin pushing it across. It'll be Keegan from distance. Shot gets knocked down, bounces around. Finally picked up by Aubin, who pushes it ahead for Vandermeer Rocker. Now it's Peters stripped of the puck just as he gets into the zone. That stretch pass just out of the reach of Vandermeer Rocker, and it'll end up with a Beacon offensive zone draw. UMass Boston will send out the third line. Remember, faceoffs have been a struggle for the third and fourth, but head coach Peter Belisle believing in this combination of Duncan, Moran, and Concannon with the defensemen Roland and Browning. Duncan in the draw against Aubin, and Duncan wins it forward. Duncan trying to strip Jones of the puck. Duncan diving, keeps it alive for Moran. Devin Moran pushed off the puck. Aubin had a chance to clear. It looked like Duncan might have been hit by a high stick there. We've got a whistle, and they're going to say that went up into the Norwich bench. And the Beacons will get a offensive zone draw as Duncan has a word for Di Pasquale. I think he thinks there should have been a penalty.
Could have been. I'm happy with the call. I think that's fair. Not quite sure what he's looking for there.
Duncan wins this one back cleanly. Browning will keep it alive just out of the bouncing puck, just past Moran there. On to Leone for Nagel. Nagel pushing it forward. Able to find Patrick O'Neill. And it's popped into the Beacon zone. Ryan Rowland looking for options. Able to find the stick of Duncan, and the Beacons will make a change. Fourth line getting their first shift just over 2 minutes into the period. So the Beacons still running 4 lines, and why not? The Beacons' depth this year, it really feels like they have 5.5 to 6 lines of forwards, and Peter Belisle has confidence in almost every single one.
Well, that's a great point, Seth, and he has no problem playing all 4, especially a 1-1 game in the third period. You can see fourth line getting regular minutes. That's a luxury to have.
The puck gets pushed into the Beacons' end. I mean, Owen Bordeaux was on the fourth line yesterday. Took a really hard hit that pretty much ended his night. Bordeaux's a 12-point scorer. He's not in today, but Jake Adkins is a guy who's played well throughout his career. Coley Bankowskis has played on the top line this year, and Jacob Banks, limited time because of an injury, but he's looked great with a goal and 4 assists in just 3 games this season. Keegan lifts it in to the Norwich zone where it's picked up. Mantaro ahead for Brendan Jones and right back in. Norwich is still looking for their first opportunity of the third. Bouncing puck took an odd carom. Chance to keep it alive by Mantaro. It's his own player in Swanson. Keegan tried to feed it around back. Instead, the centering feed just out of the reach there of Patrick Del Vecchio. 16-23. These two teams tied the first time they played this season. It was UMass Boston leading 3-1. Norwich got 2 late extra attacker goals. First ever tie between the two teams. In 58 all-time meetings, 58 games, they've only gone to overtime 7 times. Including the last time the Beacons won at Kreitzberg back in 2009. Upset in the ECAC East quarterfinals, 8-1. Shot from Krupinski tipped up, and we'll get an offensive zone draw.
Mostly Beacons so far. First 5-ish minutes into this period has been mostly offense for the Beacons. Gotta like that if you're the coaching staff. I think you want to drill down on that. Keep the energy up on the bench. Keep these lines rolling and get that confidence. It only takes one. This is the type of game I don't think we're going to see one of these teams walk away with it here in the third. This could come down to the final few minutes.
Oh, top line for the Beacons, and that went off the skate of Clifton and right at the crease. Atherton made the save, and the puck was loose for a moment. Beacons top line. Norwich is second. It'll be Matthews and Aubin again. Matthews has gotten better in the face-off dot as this game's gone along, but Aubin able to win that cleanly.
He's the guy who's got to get going here. We haven't said Matthews' name enough in this hockey game, and they need his shot here in the third period.
Matthews has had a point in every appearance since returning from a slew of illnesses in November and December, but has yet to get one today. Had 2 assists yesterday, snapping a stretch of 4 consecutive games with at least a goal and an assist. Into the zone, it's Tukane, the lone forechecker. Rowland has the puck underneath him, was expecting help from Browning. And a chance for maybe Norwich to set up as they've mixed and matched the lines. Aubin out there, combination of Tukane and it looks like Daggett. So Vanda Miraker currently getting a seat.
Weird no icing there, Seth. I thought that would have been icing, but maybe because Best played it.
Krupinski
could have been a trip,
taken
and it
down.
will be a trip.
So the Beacons will get their 4th penalty of the game. Norwich averages just under 5 penalty minutes. It's Krupinski who scored a goal, drawing the penalty, and now
he's had a good game.
Can the Beacons get a goal in this one, or get a power play goal? Brett Oderkirk, who scored the lone goal for Norwich, one of the assistant captains on this team, to the bench for 2 minutes.
He's had we're going to get 5-on-5 here, Seth. Maybe not. Never mind. Never mind. It is a Beacons power play. Thought for a second there was going to be a Beacon in the box, but never mind. It's going to be a Beacon power play here, and I'll tell you what, Krupinski's got the hot hand. He's had a good game. Maybe try to find him for a couple shots from the point.
With Barrett unavailable, I think he's the de facto defenseman to use with this top power play unit that goes 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. He's got a great shot. He's a pretty good skater, and he's got a little bit of an offensive game to him. Already scored 1 goal today. Beacon's denied zone entry. Just 22 seconds into the man advantage. Peters, another guy who is yet to get his name on the score sheet today. Only 3 guys have for the Beacons. Skinner, Krupinski, Matthews, Nicken, and Peters. Here's a chance in tight. Nicken, backhand feed. Atherton holding on, and finally a whistle. Ethan Nicken trying to keep that goal-scoring streak alive, and he couldn't quite jam it through the 5-hole.
Swanson with a bad turnover, and he was trying to ice that puck to captain, and it was ended up right in front on top of his goaltender, and that's not what you want to see if you're Norwich. That was a close call. Atherton made the save and was able to cover that puck, but if that puck was squirting around a little bit, Beacons had 3 forwards right there trying to jam it home.
Second unit out there for the Beacons. Skinner wins it, but a little bit of miscommunication allows Norwich to send the puck down the length of the ice. Second unit is Keegan, Bogan, Moran, Skinner, and Duncan. Not quite as much history of goal scoring on this group. Lots of talent, though, as Duncan and Moran battling on the far side with a pair of cadets. Winning it and sending it down the length of the ice is Mantaro. Skinner will collect right back for Bogan. Skinner had the puck stuck amongst his skates, shoots it in on Atherton, and will leave it for Aubin. Go down the length of the ice. And Matt, this isn't a criticism, but it feels like the Beacons' top unit has so much of a better chance to score than this second unit.
Yeah, this power play stinks.
Okay, that's one way of putting it.
How's that for analysis?
Oh, I just feel like with some of the players unavailable, Owen Bordeaux would have been on the second unit. As we're going to see Pat Keegan being whistled for an interference, I believe.
Oh, boy. Not good.
Threw a little hip check as a player was trying to get by him. So that's the third penalty on the Beacons, and Keegan up to 33 penalty minutes.
Yeah, you're trying to get something going here, and you take that penalty. Now you've got 13 seconds of 4-on-4, and now you're going to have to kill one off on your own. And you can feel Norwich a little bit of an edge here. They they shut down that power play for the most of it. A couple opportunities there, but now an opportunity for their power play to get out there.
This will be Norwich's 3rd power play chance of the game. Second time that they won't have a full 2 minutes, as there's still 13 seconds left on the original penalty to Oderkirk as the centering feed gets knocked away. We've got a linesman off the ice right now. Ed Perkins, the Beacons trainer, seems to be attending to a hand injury. So 2 refs and 1 linesman at the moment. We'll see if that comes into play. Minute 40 to go on the man advantage for Norwich after the penalty to Keegan. Wrapping this one around all the way in. It's Gaudette battling for it. Chance for Adkins. Whiffs on the clearance. Second chance, and again unable to get it out of the zone. Browning, Roland, Carabelli, the Beacons extra forward, gets a rare shift today alongside Adkins. Nagel circling, swerving, looking for options. Finally lays it off for Becker. Minute 6 to go on the man advantage. Becker hard off the boards behind the net for O'Mara, the team's leading power play goal scorer with 5 on the year. Diving to keep it in is Becker. It's rolling along the boards, and Gino Carabelli just fights off the player to get it out of the zone. Good work from Carabelli, who's maybe had 2 shifts today. Gaudette from the far side had a hat trick last night in his Norwich debut. Carabelli, the clearance. That is taking advantage of maybe the 1 or 2 shifts you get in a game.
Penalty kill specialist. I've known a lot of players over the years who have made careers out of doing something very, very well. And if you can kill penalties, coach has to put you in the lineup.
30 seconds to go on the man advantage. Probably the first time this year the Beacons have gone with a 13th forward versus a 7th defenseman. Behind the net, battling for it here is Del Vecchio. Coming away with it is Vandermeer Rocker, and the shot from List is tipped wide. 7 seconds left on the man advantage. Back for Liss, cross ice, able to find Odekirk. 1 goal today, shoulder save from Best, and we're back to 5-on-5 hockey.
Couple stops there from Best. Might be an opportunity going the other way.
Duncan floating it out for Nicken. No icing coming here. The Beacons in the midst of a change. Nicken waits, centers all the way to the near side for Krupinski. Krupinski's shot, stopped by Atherton. Second save, diving after it is Nicken, and we'll get a whistle with 10:35 to go in a 1-1 hockey game.
I like the fact the Beacons are doing stuff in front of the net. This is a bigger goaltender. It's going to be hard to beat him from distance. And a couple times here in this third period, there's been shots with a little bit of a rebound. And boy, if the Beacons can just find that one to jam home, 10:35 left in this period, I think that might be the difference here. You saw Sam Best, a couple good saves there, Seth. And that last one off the shoulder there, that's a defenseman walking in with no real pressure. He was able to get a shoulder on it and make a big save.
Beacons go right back to that second unit as Nicken rubs a player off, and they're going to whistle
call.
him for a penalty.
That's a bad call. That's a bad. Seth, you've got a puck coming around the wall here. You've got players that are naturally going to take a hit, and one player catches an edge, and you're going to call a penalty halfway through the third period. I just don't agree with this call. That's just players doing a board battle. One happened to fall. Yeah, I don't know. To call that at this stage of the hockey game, I think that's calling it really tight.
So let's take a look at it. First off, you have Nicken and the penalty. Norwich is screaming it should be 2 penalties because Skinner took a slap shot right after that caught the body of Patrick O'Neill.
See, to me, that's a player that dropped to a knee for whatever reason, maybe caught an edge there, and you've got Nicken who had already committed to making that hit. There's no way for him to not make that play at that stage. You can't call it just because the forward or defenseman there loses an edge. That's a tough call against the Beacons. They're going to have to find a way to recover.
Well, Norwich gets their 4th power play to match the Beacons. For the Beacons, 3 for 3 thus far on the kill. 30 of their last 30. Need to make it 31 to keep this game even. Top group out there for Norwich after a little bit of stoppage as the two sides discussed it. Up top, Nagel, near side for O'Mara, right back for Nagel. 10 minutes exactly to go in regulation. Shot from distance, Best stands up and makes the save on Becker. At the point, it's Nagel. Nagel backside, just wide of the net by O'Mara. Centering feed, chance to clear, and Carabelli gets just enough.
Big battle going on in front of the net. It was Gaudette, and I want to say it was Keegan, and they were really going at it, Seth. There's a height advantage there for Keegan, but Gaudette was standing strong.
Both teams switch out their group. 2nd power play unit for Norwich. Becker, shot from distance, gets through. Del Vecchio might have gotten a tip on it, and Norwich leads it 2-1 with 9:28 to go.
What a fortunate bounce here for Norwich. And a shot from the blue line, it's just a wrister. And I don't think that had an intention of him trying to score there. I think he was actually looking for a rebound. And sure enough, Del Vecchio standing right there. And I think he got it off the backside, Seth. I don't think he even got a stick on it. I think it just banged right in off his pants.
It's going to be the 2nd collegiate goal for Patrick Del Vecchio, the freshman out of Mississauga, Ontario. Devin Becker, who's been the team's top playmaker all year long, the initial shot, that's his 18th assist for the Bryn Athyn College transfer. So back-to-back penalties on the Beacons, even though the second one was suspect, gives Norwich a power play goal. They'd been so good, the Beacons finally give up a power play goal. That's their first in the last 8 games, and now the Beacons need one to force overtime. Matthews leaves it for Clifton. Clifton backside, Peters, and it's somehow stopped off the shoulder. Clifton's shot never gets through. Krupinski's shot gets knocked down by his own player, and the Beacons had a great chance to tie it right back up.
Well, a great pass from Clifton. A good response here from the Beacons to see if they can keep it going.
Controlled here by Odekirk. Finds O'Neill on the far side with Chapman heading to the net, and we've got some contact in front, a penalty, and I think this is going to go against Norwich. Contact with Best, and Isaac Chapman should be going for 2.
It's got to be a call. I mean, completely ran into the goaltender there, and then that puck was already past the blue paint. It wasn't like it was sitting there and there was a rebound. That pass had already come through. Take a look at the replay, and this is a run. Intentional or not, this is a penalty. And the puck comes right through the crease there. There's really not a ton of contact there from the defenseman. That's just and I understand that the Norwich forward's trying to drive hard to the net. and maybe generate a rebound, get right on top of the goaltender. That's what you're taught to do. But at a certain point, you got to hit the brakes. You can't just go full steam right through, and that's what happened. If you want to take a look at, at a player who makes a play there, they stop right on top of the blue paint, not necessarily driving into the goaltender.
It doesn't help that Sam Best is a smaller goaltender. Chapman, the taller player in that instance. So Chapman to the box for 2, 5th penalty on Norwich. They're 1 for 4 on the power play. The Beacons are 0 for 4. Great chance to tie it up with 8:32 to go in regulation. Top unit out there. This is the group that's looked a lot more dangerous. Krupinski for Peters out there with Nicken, Matthews, and Clifton. Backdoor feed looking for Clifton, gets deflected, and it'll get out as far as the neutral zone. Matthews had to wait. Saucer pass to the near side for Peters. Peters in tight. Peters dangles, and it gets popped up into the netting. I think that caught the stick of a Norwich player on the backhand shot.
Yeah, nice little play by Peters there. A little forehand backhand. Saw a little bit of a lane in the slot. Tried to go to his backhand and tuck that in. And as you mentioned, I think he caught a stick on the shot, or on the shot attempt.
8:11 to go. Matthews has been really good in the face-off draw, working against O'Neal. Unable to win this one. Chance for Callum Jones to get the clearance. Good work by Clifton to get a stick on it. Now it's Nickens centering in, and O'Neal will get the clearance.
Just missed on the cross-ice pass to Clifton there. He was waiting.
Norwich took a 1-0 lead 3 minutes in on the Brett Oderkirk goal. Then it was UMass Boston tying in the second, close to the midway point. Michael Krupinski, Norwich taking the lead just shy of the midway point here in the third on the power play goal by Patrick Del Vecchio. 7:40 to go. It gets past Peters, and the Beacons will have to touch up. Krupinski swerves his way in, shot off the skate of Jones there. Krupinski follows it up. And Nicken battling for it. Matthews giving chase. Chance to clear from Swanson. It's past Peters and another clearance. Beacon's top unit has not quite gotten a good look to this point, and another chance for a clearance. Monteleone leads it to Swanson, who's got all times of time. Good job by Skinner getting over. And now the Beacons will touch up from their own blue line to try to get something going with this second unit that has not been all that great today.
Yeah, they need them now here. They really do. They're not going to get many more opportunities. Got to get some shots.
Bogan to Keegan. That puck really bounced up on him. Chance, second chance, and Duncan is denied. Got the redirection of the Keegan shot. Now Duncan to the front. That tips wide off the stick of a cadet. Very dangerous play down the length of the ice with 9 seconds to go on the man advantage.
A couple great saves by Atherton. And honestly, I think he got both of them. The rebound save was his best of the night.
Here comes Keegan. We'll send one in wide of Atherton, and we've got an offensive zone draw coming for the Beacons. We're back to 5-on-5. Net, 6:30 to go. It's a lot of time, but it's not infinite. At what point do the Beacons start double shifting this first and second line, not going to the fourth as much, maybe even making some adjustments to get a little bit more aggressive?
Well, I think it comes down to face-off, Seth. You got to go with your best centers. You've got to have more possessions, and the only way you do that is winning your draws. They get one here.
Adkins shot right into the skate of a cadet. They've done a great job getting in the shooting lanes. That second look didn't have much behind it. Comes out to the blue line, kept in by Browning,
Good play.
Dumps it in. Adkins battling a couple of cadets with that big body. Chance for Concanon, but he stripped the puck just as he got to the post. High up off the boards, and it's Browning having to track into his own zone with 6 minutes to go in regulation.
Beacon's got to muscle there twice on a board battle. If you're going to want to come back in this hockey game, you got to find a way to win those 50-50 battles.
Carabelli getting a rare shift, has really only played on the penalty kill. Got a whistle, pops up into the Norwich penalty box, and a face-off just outside the cadet zone.
So a little over, well, just under 6 minutes left in this hockey game, and you've probably, as a coaching staff, you've got to start to look and say, okay, how many shifts do I have left with each of my lines, right? It's not like I can leave my first or second line out there the entire time. So how many do I have left, and where do I want to play them, and what matchups do I want? That's what's going on with the coaching staff right now.
Norwich wins the draw. The Beacons finally gain zone entry with 5:38 to go. Can the Beacons get at least one and force overtime? Norwich has already had 6 overtime games. Skinner a pair of chances, and Atherton makes both saves.
Couldn't elevate it. If he gets it upstairs, it's in the net.
Oderkirk ahead, able to find O'Neal. Norwich in the midst of a change. Couple forecheckers, cycled all the way around for Skinner. It's been a while since he scored a goal. This one kept in the zone, and now they're going to blow the whistle. Skinner just barely did, and Skinner, who was the one who shot that in previously after the Nicken penalty, put that on the goalie. That could be a penalty. Should be a penalty, but
not bang bang like that. If he took an extra stride,
within the letter of the law that you can if you put it on target.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for it.
It's just Norwich trying to wrap up this hockey game a little early, get a call. But no, I think Skinner's well within his right there.
Matthews versus Kerner, another big win for Clark Kerner, the freshman of Kansas City, Kansas. Stretch
He's looked
feed.
good. He's looked good, Seth.
I mean, he's not Kobe Downs in that we don't know his name as well, but he's certainly got that type of talent. As Peters' pass gets knocked right back, he whips that one high out of the reach of Keegan, who has to cycle back and get there before a couple of cadets. Odd Karam into the zone, and Nagel gets there before Clifton. Keegan waits, tries to clear. A Norwich player was getting onto the bench, another was coming off. That could have been too many men. Chance in front, and Best gets there before Del Vecchio.
Well, I saw what Keegan was trying to do. I think it was intentional, Seth. He was trying to allow Norwich to change and then hit the player coming on the ice with the puck. Try to draw too many men in the ice. It's a smart play. However, he didn't get it, and he started barking at the ref. He's lucky he was able to get back in time because that could have been a rush down the other side. It was a smart play initially. You just got to, when you don't get it, can't be arguing while the play's going on.
Beacon's third line out there against the fourth of Norwich. Swanson behind the net. Puck gets popped up. Duncan trying to push it out. Shot never gets all the way through as Browning gets a stick in on it. To the far side for Rowland. Ahead, picked up and scooted down the length of the ice by Moran. Very little behind that attempted clearance by List. It'll bounce all the way out though. And it's finally picked up by Concannon. Gets it past List, and Moran will give chase. Callum Jones with it. Stretch pass looking for Del Vecchio. At this point has the game-winning goal. Centering feed looking for Concannon. Skitters wide of the crease. Callum Jones almost lost an edge. Bouncing puck all the way around. This should be an ice. It's on its edge. And the Beacons will get an offensive zone draw. First line, second line right now. Matt, what are you doing?
Has to be second. I like them better so far in this period. I don't know. I haven't seen enough from my top line. Matthews has been my better face-off, but I haven't seen enough from Clifton and Peters. I think I got to go with the second.
Skinner to take it. He'll be in there against Patrick Del Vecchio, the fourth line center. Skinner wins it clean. Coming over is Krupinski. Shot goes off the heel there of Callum Jones. Jones around the boards past Skinner, and that will allow the Cadets to change. This one does not have the legs for an icing. Stretch pass finds Krupinski just at the edge of the zone. Krupinski shot, shoulder save, Nicky just wide.
That was
agonizingly close.
That was it, Seth.
Bogan
That's the one.
Unable to keep it in, and now Norwich will easily be able to get out of the zone. That's the guy you want.
Yep.
Ethan Nicken has had 6 goals in those last 4. So close with a little bit of a window at the far post.
He gets it in the slot. He's got time. He's got space, and just trying. Got it. Hey, goaltender's played well. Try to pick a corner there. I understand it. Miss the net. That's going to happen. But man, that's the guy you want with that opportunity on his stick.
Now it's Norwich's second line against the Beacons' top line. Coming back to get it is Mantaro. Mantaro for Daggett. Cross-ice feed for O'Neill, bouncing puck, and Norwich retreats to their own zone. Tipped forward, no icing coming as Aubin got a piece of it. Keegan up the boards for Clifton. Clifton will track it, able to find an on-rushing Matthews. Matthews has to turn, looking for Clifton off of his skate, and a chance for Norwich to go the other way. Working with it is Daggett, and he'll dump in and head off to the bench as Best will collect for the Beacons. 1 forechecker, and it's O'Neill who takes it right off the stick of Keegan. 2:27 to go.
Got to think about taking the goalie soon. Usually around the 2-minute mark is when Coach Bile will pull that trigger.
Beacons do not have their timeout. They've already used that one. So he's going to have to do it on the fly. 2:11 to go, and Norwich is doing a good job just killing some clock. The Beacons are going to get it out of the zone. Keegan's pass intercepted right at the blue line. Good work tracking back by O'Mara. So Mora with it here with a minute 56. Shot in on Best, easy save, but Norwich has the puck where they want it. As far away from their own goal as possible. Krupinski leading the charge. Cross-ice pass looking for Duncan. Duncan gets it out of the zone. Best looks at the bench, not off yet. Halfway there, still holding. Shot from the Beacons gets tipped up. Duncan with it, turnaround shot, never going to make it there. List just looking to clear the zone, has his attempted pass pushed back. A minute 30, and the Beacons still have not made the goalie change.
Yeah, they couldn't get enough of a possession.
Swanson with the player heading to the center, that's Del Vecchio, and it's broken up just in front. Minute 20 to go, and the Beacons still have not pulled the goalie for the extra attacker.
Yeah, now you don't have a choice. You got to take him on the next rush, but they can't get the puck. They can't possess Seth.
There goes Best.
Yeah, there he goes.
Krupinski 1v5, sends to the far side. Skinner slows it down. Bouncing puck. Beacons still fighting for it. Pops out of the zone, kept alive by Krupinski, who might have been caught a little bit with the stick there. Beacons pull the goalie, and unable to get a look off there was Ahmed. 53 seconds to go, 6-on-5. The Beacons gave up 2 extra attacker goals the first time. Can they get 1 here to force overtime? Skinner's shot gets tipped up into the netting. Norwich has a timeout. The Beacons don't, but at least they can draw up a play here.
Yeah, the fact that that was deflected is big, Seth, because I thought that might be coming out of the zone. With 43 seconds, you really can't afford a neutral zone draw. But with an in-zone draw here, if Beacons take a timeout, you're going to get – I thought they took those as well, yeah, but it must have been Norwich. You're going to get an opportunity. I mean, this is – with a one-goal hockey game, you got to be prepared for situations like this. Coach Stephen Bucco, former teammate of mine, is going to draw something up here, and you've got to have a couple set plays. So typically what goes on, if we win it, if we lose it, but then also – you got to have an idea of what Norwich likes to run, and that's not going to be something that they're going to discuss here. That has to take place earlier on in the game, right? You take note of what the centers like to do, and we're going to have to see. Take a look at what lines are going to be. I would put 2 centers. I'd have 2 centers out there, just in case my first one gets tossed for whatever reason. You don't want to have a winger as your backup plan.
I'm using your top power play unit, Peters, Nicken, Matthews, Clifton, Krupinski, and I'm putting Skinner out there as my 6th guy. The one guy who's on that second power play unit to kind of balance it out. That's your best group of 6.
Sure, but whoever's going to muscle.
Skinner's been good on power play.
Usually these goals come down to who can outmuscle who, and quite honestly, Norwich has outmuscled the Beacons here in this period.
It'll be Walker to take the faceoff against Ovid. Andy Walker unable to win it. Jones poking it around just out of the reach of Walker. Good step by Matthews to keep it alive. It's Matthews, Duncan, Nicken, Peters, Skinner, and Walker. 28 seconds left. Beacons finally have possession. Walker far side looking for Matthews, and it's a glove save there. Chance to clear. This one will stay alive as Walker's got it with 20. The Beacons need to move and move quickly. Peters with a cross-ice pass. Bouncing puck. Matthews gains the zone right back out. That's kind of the luck the Beacons have had in this third period.
Well, another guy you want with the puck. It's a one-timer from Matthews, your best shooter. And he made a great shot. It was a great one-timer. He got all of it. Tried to beat the goaltender coming back from where he was. Atherton made a nice pad save, and he's had a couple in this period, Seth. Beacons have had some chances. Haven't been able to capitalize.
10.7 seconds left. It's going to be Skinner this time against Auburn, who's been great in the face-offs. Skinner tried to win it across. It's into the zone. Just wanted Atherton. He'll cover up.
That's huge. That's huge. That's unbelievable. I cannot believe he did that. All he had to do was poke the puck into the corner. The game's over. Instead, we're going to get an in-zone draw. Beacons still have life. That's a mental mistake there from the goaltender. Atherton just could have played that puck right into the corner. The game's over. You got 5.9 here. Another chance.
It'll be Walker against Almond again. 5.9, a ton of time. Walker wins it cleanly out top. Shot from Skinner just wide. 2 seconds left. Centering feed gets knocked down, and that will do it. Norwich, a power play goal from Patrick Del Vecchio in the third period. The difference. They win it 2-1 in a very even battle.
Yeah.
And that, how big is that extra point for Norwich / the 2 points lost by the Beacons up at Kreitzberg? This ends up as a season series in which Norwich takes 4 out of the 6 points. In reality, the Beacons should feel crestfallen because they easily could have had at least 4 of their own, if not 6.
Yeah, good battle here tonight, and I'll tell you, Came down to a bounce. Norwich got one, Beacons didn't. That's really your difference of this hockey game. Thought the Beacons could have done better on two areas. Face-offs, and I thought they got out-muscled a lot tonight, particularly in that third period. I thought Norwich really took it to them physically, not so much in hitting, but more so on the board battles. I saw the Beacons lose a lot of board battles in that third period, and I think face-offs were the difference. There's a couple opportunities there where the Beacons had a little bit of momentum, and then they lost the draw, and Norwich was able to kind of let it dissipate. It came down to a bounce. Norwich got a shot from the blue line. It went in off somebody's pants, Delvecchio's pants, and in the back of the net. And then the Beacons got 3 opportunities there in the third period from some of their top players, Nitkin, Matthews, and then at the end there with Skinner. And no one could drive it home. There's your hockey game, 2-1 Norwich.
The two teams are now tied with 19 points apiece in second place in the conference. Still a lot of games left. The Beacons do have a game in hand, so not all negatives. You'd love to have gotten more than 1 point in this season series because the Beacons probably deserved it considering how the first game went and how even today's game went. But still a lot of positives. The Beacons just played some easier competition and rolled. They were able to answer Norwich's speed in the first period. They were able to play competitively. How does this bode if the Beacons can maybe get some bounces, work on some of the things you were talking about, heading into Babson next Friday on the road, and then that huge weekend against Hobart and Elmira, who right now, both of those teams are in the top 3-4 of the conference.
It's a reality check, Seth, and I think you're exactly right. They beat teams that they were supposed to beat, right? And a competition that when you look at the schedule each year, you look at the games you have, you're like, okay, those have to be wins. If we're going to do anything this year, those have to be wins. And they took care of that. But a little bit of a reality check because those teams aren't nationally ranked. Norwich, you can see 11 in the nation, a team that is supposed to be doing big things this season. And quite frankly, in reality of where they're supposed to be going right now, they're right there with the Beacons. And they were right there with them in this hockey game. I thought this could have gone a lot of different ways. It was up and down. Beacons had momentum. Norwich had momentum. I think this is a reality check for the Beacons club to say, hey, we've done a lot this season, but we still have another hill to climb, right? And this Norwich team, who's right there with us, beat us tonight. No matter how you shake it, no moral victories. They got the win tonight, and that's something we've got to live with going into Babson next weekend.
Well, right now we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with our 3 stars, the final stats, and then a shout-out to our production crew who's coming back from winter break early to help out with these games. Remember, the Beacons finally on the road next Friday at Babson, but then right back for a huge weekend against Elmira and Hobart 2 weekends from now.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well, but it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
The final in today's game, Norwich 2, UMass Boston 1. Quickly, let's take a look at the scoring summary from this one. It was 1 goal in all 3 periods. Norwich in the first, Brett Odekirk at 2:52. The Beacons answered 7:37 of the second, Michael Krupinski. And then the game winner at 10:32, a power play goal. It was Michael Delvecchio Patrick Delvecchio, off the Devin Becker shot. We thought there was a tip. Seemed like Delvecchio did as well, so we're giving him the goal, even though the stats had it as a Becker unassisted tally. Quick look at the final statistics. Matt, in the end, the Beacons were the better team in the third statistically, but I don't know if it necessarily showed as much on the ice. The Beacons out shooting Norwich 17-7 in the third period, but still not doing enough of some of those things you wanted to see in the third period.
Particularly the physical play. And it wasn't necessarily the hitting. It was more the board battles. I thought there were too many that the Beacons could have given a little bit better effort. They were a little late getting to the corner and didn't take great angles coming in. And then when they did, it seemed as though they were getting out-muscled a lot. A lot of lost possessions there and a lot of lost possessions on the faceoff. Now, that being said, it was a bounce. It came down to a bounce. Norwich got it. And Beacons had 3 opportunities in the third period from some of their top scorers to capitalize. They didn't do it, and there's your hockey game. And that's what a game, when these matchups come onto the ice, that's what it typically comes down to, is a bounce and which team does the little things better. You could take a look. The shots on goal, pretty much even. Neither team, surprisingly, had their chances on the power play. Neither was able to capitalize. But look at the faceoff discrepancy. And the stat that isn't there, is, which I don't think we have one for, is board battles. That was the difference in this hockey game. And I think Beacons could look at the tape on this one and find a way to maybe be a little bit better the next time if they face this team again this season, be a little bit better on the physical play.
Well, Norwich did score on the power play. It was that last goal that was the power play goal.
True.
The
Sorry.
Beacons power play 0 for 5. I'd like to see a little bit more out of that.
Yeah.
Penalty kill, it ends after 30 in a row. You just knew you couldn't give Norwich power play opportunities, and UMass Boston gave 2 in a row, and it just felt like this is probably going to be it.
It was a bounce, and that's one. The reason I forgot they scored on the power play is it was just a flick, right? Becker just kind of flings it at the net. It goes in off something, Delvecchio's pants, and in the back of the net. It wasn't like a drawn-up play. Pretty even hockey game. Just Beacons couldn't find a way to tie it up and force OT, and that's where it stands.
Take a look at our 3 stars. Delvecchio, by virtue of his game-winning goal in this one, picks up, as of course we lose our graphics. At least they wait till like the final 2 minutes of the post game, as Mary Jo Murphy's done a great job working graphics all weekend long. Number 1 star, Patrick Delvecchio, the game-winning goal. Drennan Atherton ends up with 38 saves in this one. Really good game.
Some big saves late.
Sam Best, 29 saves on the 31 shots. He played extremely well. He had some huge saves, including on the penalty kill late in the second to keep that game at 1-1. Look ahead for UMass Boston. Next Friday, they will host, they'll be at Babson College, at 7. Next Saturday, they've got off. Southern Maine has some different kind of COVID protocols than everyone else, so they're out for 2 whole weeks. So the Beacons will only have the 1 game to focus on next week. And then the following week, they've got Elmira on Friday, Hobart at Saturday. Both teams currently in the top 10. 2 huge games. Finally, a shout-out to our production crew. Great work by all the ladies who were here today. Great work by my partner, Matt Meisenbacher, as well. But for our student workers who were coming back a little bit early, for our director, Allie Crawford, also doing some instant replay, for Mary Jo Murphy on graphics, Gina Albano and Georgia Bonney. Huge shout-out to UMass Boston Women's Soccer. And, of course, to Matt Meisenbacher, was here for all 120 minutes of hockey. My name is Seth Dorensky.